Chapter 366. In the bazaar. Seeing the 10th prince and Feng beaming with joy when they talked about Shangluo, Yifei had an extremely strange thought. That was, if the two of them found out that the perfect goddess in their hearts, Luo Xianzi, was actually a 12 or 13-year-old girl who had been conjured up using illusions, would they feel as though their dreams had been shattered? However, thinking that it would be too cruel to the two of them, Yifei gave it some thought and explained very seriously, "Gentlemen, I really have no interest in that silly little girl from Shangluo." "Silly little girl? Yifei, you're really not honest. You've even given her a nickname." Feng's expression was serious. He had already treated Yifei as his greatest rival. The 10th prince also patted Yifei's shoulder and said very openly, "Yifei, I know you don't want to fight with us, but when it comes to love, you have to be brave and chase after it. We don't mind, so why should you?" Yifei was speechless when he realized that if he continued to explain, not only would he not be able to clear up the misunderstanding, it might even worsen it. Helpless, he could only change the topic. "I don't object to the two of you going to see Shangluo, but you should at least bring me to the place where the sword gleam appeared first." After walking for a while, Yifei realized that Constellation Island was extraordinarily big. If it weren't for the 10th prince and Feng leading the way, he would definitely have wasted a lot of time to find the soul-devouring sword. When the 10th prince heard this, he looked at Yifei with a strange expression and said, "It seems that Luo Xianzi and the sword gleam don't clash. According to the news we received, Luo Xianzi is also there and seems to be waiting for someone." "What? She's waiting for someone?" Yifei was extremely shocked. At this time, even if he thought with his toes, he knew that Shangluo was waiting for him, and it was actually using such an unsolvable method. After all, he had to get to the place where the devouring spirit sword appeared. Once he got there, he would definitely meet up with Shangluo. Yifei wasn't afraid of Shangluo. What he was truly afraid of was the crazy martial king by Shangluo's side. Yifei had seen Third Master Shang's ruthlessness towards those who bullied Shangluo. He did not want to be hunted down by this terrifying mad warrior king. Along the way, Yifei became very distressed. He did not want to have another conflict with the Merchant Alliance. However, they had to face the fact that they might encounter Shangluo. "Why don't I return those clothes to her? But won't that make her die faster?" Yifei's expression was uncertain. From the 10th prince and Feng's attitude toward Shangluo, it could be seen how popular Luo Xianzi was among the young talents of the northern region. At this time, if news spread that someone had stolen her undergarments, Yifei reckoned that all the young talents of the entire Constellation Island would become his enemy. Undergarments. I have a way to deal with this little girl who can't be provoked." A flash of inspiration flashed through Yifei's mind. He had already thought of a way to avoid meeting up with Shangluo and being hunted down by that crazy martial king. The three of them walked for a few more hours. Finally, Yifei saw a very large ruined building. The 10th prince pointed at the building and sighed, "Ah, that's the ancient sect, the Constellation sect." Unfortunately, even the powerful ancient sect couldn't withstand the battle between two peerless emperors. "I just don't know which martial king will get the emperor's sword in the end." Feng also sighed. When he thought of those martial king experts fighting over the devouring spirit sword, Yifei frowned slightly. However, the current situation did not allow him to retreat in the slightest. "We can only take one step at a time and see how things go." Yifei shook his head helplessly. Then, he walked into the ruined building that had been there for 3,000 years. Unexpectedly, there were quite a lot of cultivators gathered here. There were at least a few hundred of them. Yifei even saw people setting up stalls to sell the materials of demonic beasts they had hunted or some 1,000-year-old cultural relics they had dug out from the ruins of the Constellation Island. As if he could see the doubt in Yifei's eyes, the 10th prince explained, "This is the ruined city. As the Constellation Sea is very suitable for martial honorable realm cultivators to train here, over time, it became like this. However, although there are many stalls here, the largest is still the Merchant Union." Then where did the sword light appear? Yifei nodded and asked again. He had no interest in the ruined city here. He only cared about one thing, and that was the location where the devouring spirit sword appeared. A month ago, the sword light that the 10th prince and I saw was behind this ruined city. There was a small world there that appeared along with the sword light. Some martial king experts speculated that it might be a small world left behind by the Constellation sect from 3,000 years ago. There were many treasures of the ancient sect stored in it, Shifeng said with a face full of envy. The ancient sect was far more powerful than the current Holy Lands. Whether it was treasures or cultivation techniques, they were unimaginable to the cultivators of the later generations. In the past 3,000 years, there were many experts who came here in an attempt to find the entrance to the small world of the ancient sect. However, they all returned empty-handed. Until a month ago, when the sword light tore through the sky and tore through the starry sky, this small world that had been hidden for thousands of years was revealed once again. As Yifei spoke to Shifeng, the three of them climbed to the top of an abandoned palace and looked into the distance. Indeed, they saw a cracked door of light at the far end of the ruined city. Yifei knew that was the entrance to the small world that the devouring spirit sword had torn open. The devouring spirit sword must be in there as well. Immediately, Yifei had the urge to rush in. When he saw the many experts of the Merchant Alliance blocking the entrance to the small world, Yifei's face darkened. The 10th Prince and Shifeng also noticed the experts of the Merchant Alliance, and their eyes lit up. Hey, it's the martial honorables of the Merchant Alliance. That means that Luo Xianzi is also there, Shifeng said excitedly. As expected of Luo Xianzi, those who could surround her are at least rank 5 martial honorables. The two of us probably won't even have the chance to get close to Luo Xianzi. We will be chased away by these people. The 10th Prince said sourly. Shifeng was not convinced. He pointed at Yifei and said, "We don't have the chance to get close to Luo Xianzi, but Yifei does. Yifei, we have a presumptuous request. We hope that you can help us." "No way. To be honest, I have a grudge with Shangluo. She is probably blocking the entrance to stop me. If you're not afraid of being implicated by me, I can bring you over to talk to her," Yifei said helplessly. The 10th Prince looked at Yifei in surprise. "You have a grudge with Luo Xianzi? What grudge?" "Ahem, it's just a small grudge." Yifei could not say that he had robbed Shangluo once and even taken away her underwear. If he did, the 10th Prince and Shifeng would definitely fall out with him. However, this Shangluo was an obstacle that he had to bypass to enter the small world. Chapter 367. Luring the tiger away from the mountain, Shifeng, 10th Prince, I actually have a presumptuous request. I would like to ask for your help. Of course, if you succeed, I won't mistreat you, Yifei said a little embarrassedly. The 10th Prince and Shifeng looked at Yifei speechlessly. You just rejected our presumptuous request, and now you're making a presumptuous request. Cough, cough. That's because the situation is different. I can't fulfill your presumptuous request. My request can be easily fulfilled by you, Yifei said helplessly. To avoid alarming that crazy martial king, he needed someone to cooperate with him. Ha ha ha, Yifei, I was just joking with you. Tell us what you need. We won't refuse as long as we can do it. The 10th Prince finally had a little trick for Yifei. A happy smile appeared on his cold face. Shifeng also smiled and asked, "Tell us, what do you want us to do? Does it have something to do with Fairy Luo?" "Something like that. I want you to help me pass a message to Shangluo. It's best if you lure everyone from the Merchant Union away. Only then can I successfully charge into the entrance of the small world," Yifei said helplessly. This was the method he had thought of. He wanted to lure the tiger away from the mountain in Shangluo. Only then could he enter the small world with peace of mind to search for the devouring spirit sword. He didn't have to worry about a little girl leading a large group of experts to fight him. Yifei, are you serious? If you really want to enter the small world, although there are many treasures inside, it will be very difficult for you to survive without a 10th layer martial honorable. The 10th Prince's expression was serious. Shifeng's expression also became serious. Only now did they know that Yifei wasn't just casually strolling around. He was actually planning to charge in and fight for the treasures with the older experts and even the martial king experts. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Now, it's up to you to run an errand for me, Yi Fei said very seriously. Even though he knew that it was extremely dangerous, in order to fulfill his promise to the demon monarch, to make up for the regret in his heart, and to destroy the heavenly insect and the spirit-devouring sword, he had to do everything he could to obtain it. Sensing Yi Fei's determination, the 10th prince understood that it was useless to persuade him. He nodded happily and said, "You're here to pass a message to Luo Xinzi, right? It's just a small matter. I'll run the errand for you." "Wait, 10th prince, you're the senior brother. You should let your junior brother do the errands." Shifeng did not show any signs of weakness. He quickly pushed the 10th prince to the side and patted his chest to Yi Fei, indicating that he would accept this matter. This caused the 10th prince to fly into a rage. "Shifeng, brothers are brothers, and feelings are feelings. I will never let you get close to Luo Xinzi alone." Seeing that the two of them were not giving in and were constantly arguing, Yi Fei realized that the little girl in Shangluo was really something. She was clearly a little girl, but she was able to play around with so many young talents. Even the 10th prince and Shifeng had fallen for her tricks. Yi Fei had no choice but to say in advance, "Have you really thought about it? Why wanting to pass on to Shang Luo is not good news. Tell Shang Luo that if she doesn't want her underwear to be stolen or sold in the underground black market, she should prepare 300 heaven-class level 3 pills immediately and rush to the island's dock to trade with me." "What? You have Luo Xinzi's undergarments?" Shifeng was so shocked that he almost fell to the ground. "Yi Fei, since you treat us as brothers, give me Luo Xinzi's undergarments. That thing, I'll buy it." The 10th prince gritted his teeth and made an extremely difficult decision. Yi Fei was speechless for a while. In the end, he decided to let Shifeng pass the message. It was safer. "Shifeng, I'll leave this matter to you." "Sure." Shifeng was indeed straightforward. Even though he knew that doing so might offend Luo Xinzi, who asked Yi Fei to save him before, just this point alone made Shifeng unable to refuse. "However, do you really have Luo Xinzi's undergarments on you?" Before Shifeng left, he couldn't help but stare at Yi Fei strangely. "If you really have them, sell them to me. I'm not short of money." The 10th prince still wanted to buy them. Yi Fei was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. If the two of them knew that not only did he have Shangluo's undergarments, but he also had them in every style, wouldn't they go crazy? Therefore, Yi Fei immediately put on his most serious and honest expression and firmly denied, "No, definitely not. I'm just bluffing to lure the tiger away from the mountain." "You really don't have them?" The 10th prince was obviously disappointed. Shifeng also looked at Yi Fei suspiciously. However, Yi Fei was too lazy to say anything. He just turned his head and looked at Shangluo, which was surrounded by a group of young talents in the distance. It had to be said that Shangluo's illusory technique was really amazing. It was strange that a little girl could turn into a beautiful lady. What was even more surprising was that the few tens of young geniuses present, including the 10th prince and Shifeng, were actually unable to see through Shang Luo's illusion technique. Needless to say, this little girl's ability was extremely terrifying. "Stop right there. Who are you? You're only a level 1 martial honorable. Who allowed you to get close to Luo Xinzi? Get lost." As expected, when they saw Shifeng trying to talk to Shangluo before the experts of the Merchant Union could say anything, the dozens of young talents surrounding Shangluo all looked at Shifeng with hostility. Seeing Shifeng in the Taishan Holy Land's uniform, Shangluo's eyes lit up as if she had finally caught the tail of a fox. She actually made an exception and smiled at Shifeng. "So, it's young Master Shifeng from the Taishan Holy Land. I've heard of your name for a long time. May I know what business you have with me?" Shang Luo's actions were graceful, appropriate, and faintly carried a trace of temptation. Merely that slight smile of his was sufficient to stun the eyes of all the young geniuses present, and then they shot gazes of extreme jealousy toward Shifeng. Watching from afar, Yi Fei could not help but admit that when Shang Luo was in disguise, she was truly beautiful, just like a fairy. Shi Feng was also mesmerized by Luo Xinzi's smile. However, he was an honest person, and he didn't forget Yi Fei's request. Resisting the murderous gazes, Shi Feng gathered his courage and said, "Luo Xinzi, I'm not the one looking for you. Yi Fei asked me to pass you a message." Yi Fei, that bastard, it's a miracle that he's still alive. Luo Xinzi's smile instantly turned into a sneer. She looked at Shi Feng coldly and asked, "Tell me, what message did he ask you to pass?" Shi Feng said, "Yi Fei asked Luo Xinzi to bring 300 third-grade Tian ranked pills to him immediately. Otherwise, he couldn't guarantee that Luo Xinzi's undergarments wouldn't be stolen or sold at the black market." What? Luo Xinzi's undergarments were stolen and sold at the black market? Chapter 368. Young man, please stay. Before Shi Feng could finish speaking, the surrounding young talents were already enraged. They looked like they were going to chop Yi Fei into pieces the moment Yi Fei appeared. Some of them even vented their anger on Shi Feng. They said angrily, "Shi Feng from the Taishan Holy Land? That Yi Fei is also from your holy land. Tell us, what is your relationship with them?" They looked like they were going to attack Shi Feng if he said anything wrong. Shi Feng was shocked. He didn't know whether he should distance himself from Yi Fei or not. Two martial honors from the Merchant Union walked over with cold smiles. They didn't give Shi Feng any chance to explain. They grabbed him and pushed him in front of Shangluo. They said, "Eldest lady, this brat must be Yi Fei's accomplice. Do you need us to teach him a lesson?" Shangluo looked at Shi Feng coldly and snorted, "Shi Feng, you'd better pray that the words that bastard asked you to pass on are true. If I go there and can't find him, you'll have to bear his sins." "Luo Xinzi, don't. I'm just passing on a message for him because we used to be brothers. I have nothing to do with him." Shi Feng cried out. He wanted to cry, but had no tears. He quickly distanced himself from Yi Fei. Shangluo's eyes were filled with flames of anger. When she heard that Yi Fei wanted to auction off her undergarments, Shangluo was so angry that she was about to burst into flames. How could she give Shi Feng a chance to explain himself? Eldest lady gave him a look. The group of experts from the Merchant Union surrounded Shi Feng and forcefully dragged him towards the dock of Constellation Island. Luo Xinzi left in anger. "What should we do? What else can we do? Of course, we have to chase after her. Let's work together and avenge Luo Xinzi." Damn it, he actually took away Luo Xinzi's undergarments. That Yi Fei better pray that he doesn't meet me. When they saw Shang Luo leave angrily, all the young geniuses present glanced at each other before following closely behind him with similar fury. A large group of people furiously charged towards the outskirts of the Constellation Island. The scene was quite spectacular, and the martial artists in the ruined city were instantly frightened into a frenzy. "Yi Fei, you made me suffer." In the distance, Shi Feng's cries could still be heard. However, even at this point, Shi Feng did not betray Yi Fei. Instead, he did his best to help Yi Fei lure all the people from Shangluo over. Yi Fei also looked gratefully at Shi Feng's back as he was being escorted away. "Shi Feng, you've really suffered this time," the 10th prince said with a dark expression. "Yi Fei, if Fairy Luo finds out that she's been tricked, Shi Feng will be fine, right?" At this point, how could the 10th prince not know that the grudge between Yi Fei and Shangluo wasn't as simple as it seemed? Otherwise, why would Shangluo bring so many experts to the Sea of Constellations just to ambush Yi Fei? "Don't worry. Once I enter the pocket world, 10th prince, you can go over and pass on a message for me. Tell Shangluo that if she dares to harm even a strand of your hair, I will immediately auction off her undergarments." Yi Fei said confidently. The 10th prince couldn't help but widen his eyes. Only now did he realize that the grudge between Yi Fei and Shangluo wasn't just a small one. Immediately, the 10th prince gave Yi Fei a thumbs up. "Yi Fei, you're still the brave one. Shi Feng and I don't even have the courage to pursue Fairy Luo, but you're already bold enough to steal her undergarments. You're really willing to risk your life for a beauty. Bullsh asterisk T. I only snatched a few pieces by accident. Yi Fei was very depressed. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have used such a method. What? You even snatched more than one piece? Are you really going to auction off these items? The 10th prince's expression couldn't help but become even stranger. It seemed like he still wanted to say something to Yi Fei. Yi Fei was already speechless as he quickly rushed towards the empty pocket world entrance. He was afraid that if he stayed any longer, the 10th prince might ask him to buy those clothes from him again. Seeing that Yi Fei was really rushing towards the pocket world, the 10th prince's expression turned serious. However, he didn't say anything. He knew that if he went in with Yi Fei, he would only become a burden to Yi Fei. On the other side, Shifeng also needed his help. Thus, when he saw that Yi Fei had successfully rushed into the pocket world, the 10th prince quickly made his move as well. He rushed out of the market and chased after Shifeng. Whoosh! Although he had successfully rushed into the pocket world entrance, Yi Fei was very depressed to find that it wasn't that easy to enter the pocket world's interior. He didn't know which Martial King expert had actually set up a defensive array here. There was also a small wooden sign in front of it that said no one below the 10th rank could enter. Yi Fei immediately understood. These Martial King experts are indeed cunning. They don't want too many people to rush in and compete with them for the treasures. They actually set up a restriction at the entrance. Only experts above the 10th rank of the Martial Honorable Realm can break through the restriction and successfully enter the pocket world. However, this little trick won't be a problem for me. Yi Fei smiled slightly. He was now a 5th rank Martial Honorable. With the Phoenix Blood Sword, even if he couldn't defeat a Martial King, it was still possible for him to defeat a 10th rank Martial Honorable. Yi Fei decided to take out the Phoenix Blood Sword and forcefully break through the restriction. It was also at this moment that Yi Fei suddenly felt a spying gaze in the nearby space. Who is it? Before Yi Fei could react, he felt a pat on his shoulder. Then, he heard Third Master Shang's delighted laughter. Haha, young man, please wait. I've finally found you. The void split open and Third Master Shang walked out happily. Yi Fei immediately felt a sense of bitterness in his heart. He had underestimated that little girl Shang Luo. No wonder she had been tricked so easily. After all this time, she had even arranged for Third Master Shang, a Martial King, to lie in ambush here. Third Master Shang, are you here to capture that four-browed Yi Fei? Yi Fei revealed a forced smile. Hey, young man, how did you know? Did Luo tell you? Third Master Shang was very enthusiastic. He grabbed Yi Fei and began to pour out his grievances. Young man, you don't know. We were all fooled by that Yi Fei. He actually doesn't have 4 eyebrows. I thought about it for a long time before I realized that Yi Fei had purposely made up 4 eyebrows to mislead us. Third Master Shang's face was full of anger as he spoke. Hearing this, Yi Fei's heart finally relaxed. It seemed that Third Master Shang had not discovered his identity. Facing this powerful and crazy Martial King, it was impossible for him to fight. Then, he could only continue to talk nonsense. Cough, cough. Senior, it's like this. I came here to tell you that that four-browed Yi Fei is extremely cunning. He already knew that you were hiding here and purposely used a trick to lure Miss Shanghua to the pier. What? The Yi Fei is so cunning. He even dared to deceive Luo. He must have a death wish. Third Master Shang was still the same. When he heard that someone might harm Shanghua, he went crazy and was filled with murderous intent. Yi Fei was secretly glad that he did not get into a conflict with Third Master Shang. Chapter 369. A big tree provides shade, however. Third Master Shang was a stubborn person. Once he believed that Yi Fei was a good person, everything that Yi Fei did was good. Similarly, he believed that Yi Fei was a helpful person. Whenever there was a problem that Third Master Shang could not solve, the first person he thought of was an outstanding young man like Yi Fei. Young man, there's something I need your help with. Ever since I failed to catch that Yi Fei, Luo has been angry with me. She won't call me father or talk to me. I, Third Master, only have one daughter. I really don't want Luo to neglect me like this. After Third Master Shang's madness, he became extremely depressed. He looked at Yifei pitifully. To the crazy Third Master Shang, if there was anyone who could make him reconcile with his daughter, it would be this helpful young man in front of him. Yifei's face darkened. To be a martial king like Third Master Shang, he could be considered a weirdo. At the same time, Yifei was curious as to what Third Master Shang had gone through to make a martial king realm expert become so crazy. More importantly, this crazy martial king was angry with Shanglua. Why did he need Yifei's help to reconcile? What could Yifei do? Third Master Shang, I really can't help you with this. Why don't you hurry over and explain it to Miss Shanglua in person? Yifei wanted to send Third Master Shang away as soon as possible. The depressed Third Master Shang became even crazier when he heard this. He straightened his body and shouted, No, Third Master Shang, I'm a good man. What's more, you're Luo's father. What kind of father would apologize to his daughter? Young man, did I misjudge you? You're not like me, a good man who loves to help others. Luo is telling the truth. Everything you said was a lie. Boom. Third Master Shang lost control of his martial king aura and crushed the seal in front of him. Yifei's face turned bitter as he realized that Third Master Shang, a martial king, was not a normal person. This is a lunatic martial king. Offending a lunatic is already very frightening. If this lunatic is also a terrifying martial king, Yifei felt a mountain-like pressure that nearly pressed him to the ground. Left with no choice, Yifei could only continue to spout nonsense. Senior, I have a way to make you reconcile with your daughter. Who knows? She might even be willing to call you dad. Oh, what is it? Young man, I was right about you. You are indeed someone who loves to help others. No wonder I felt a sense of kinship with you the first time I saw you. Third Master Shang's anger turned into joy as his martial king aura disappeared instantly. But even so, Yifei was already sweating profusely from resisting. Yifei had never felt such an oppressive aura from Sword Fanatic Elder before. After the initial shock, Yifei's heart skipped a beat. This lunatic martial king is so powerful. Why don't I take advantage of him and enter the small world to search for the devouring soul sword? As the saying goes, it's cool to stand under a big tree, but pretend to be a king in front of Tiger. Yifei knew that with his current strength, he could deal with a martial honorable. If he were to meet a martial king, he would be suppressed with one hand. If he were to lose his life, he would not be able to fight for the devouring soul sword. However, things were different with Third Master Shang by his side. Third Master Shang could be his bodyguard when he was free. If he accidentally provoked King Wu, Third Master Shang would definitely help him out. Yes, that's it. In order to fight for the devouring soul sword, even if I have to travel with a lunatic, I will accept it. At least this lunatic is safer than many normal martial kings. Young man, tell me, what can I do to make Luo willingly call me father? I will repay you greatly. Third Master Shang panicked when he saw Yifei suddenly stop talking. Yifei snapped out his daze. He could not bear to lie, but in order to obtain the devouring soul sword and save the Demon King, he could not be careless when it was necessary. At most, after we save the Demon King, I will ask him to compensate Third Master Shang. With a quick thought, Yifei understood that the benefits of tricking an expert like Third Master Shang outweighed the disadvantages. He relaxed on the spot and continued to brag. Ahem, Senior, this idea is actually very simple. Haven't you thought of giving Miss Shanglua a special gift to make her happy? Yifei threw out the bait. Third Master Shang frowned. Our Shang clan has countless treasures. She even stole the embryo of a divine weapon. I really can't think of anything special to give her. Young man, are you saying that we should go in and give the Emperor's sword to Luo? What Emperor's sword? Senior, don't believe it. It's all a lie. Besides, it's not good for girls to fight and kill. Yifei quickly dismissed Third Master Shang's idea of fighting for the devouring soul sword and pretended to think for a while. Yifei clapped his hands and laughed. Senior, I have an idea. Girls love to look beautiful. I think that if you can give Miss Shanglua a face-retaining elixir, she will be very happy. What? A face-retaining elixir? Young man, that thing disappeared with the ancient sects thousands of years ago. Where am I going to find it? Don't joke around. Third Master Shang calmed down a little from the shock of the face-retaining elixir. Yi Fei chuckled. This was exactly what he wanted. If he didn't give Third Master Shang some treasure that even the Business Alliance couldn't find, how could Yi Fei convince Third Master Shang to help him fight for the devouring soul sword? With a mysterious smile on his face, Yi Fei purposely moved closer to Third Master Shang and whispered, "Third Master, the face-retaining elixir may have disappeared, but the ancient sex encampment is right in front of us. To be honest, I received news that the face-retaining elixir's recipe is inside. That's why I took the risk to enter. I wanted to give the recipe to Miss Shangluo." Third Master Shang was shocked. He looked at Yi Fei in shock. "Young man, are you telling the truth? How come the Business Alliance didn't know about this?" "It's true," Yi Fei insisted. He then provoked Third Master Shang. "Third Master Shang, you said that we are good men who love to help others. Would a good man lie to another good man? Or are you saying that you don't care about your daughter at all?" Third Master Shang's emotions, which he had just managed to calm down, flared up again. He shouted, "Young man, don't spout nonsense. For Luo Luo, I'm willing to give up my life. The face-retaining elixir, right? Fine, I'll go in with you." Rumble. Third Master Shang tore open the void in front of him. He was so fast that Yi Fei didn't even have time to react before he was pulled into the void. They appeared at the core of the pocket dimension in the blink of an eye. That speed, that distance. Yi Fei was stunned for a while. He looked at Third Master Shang excitedly. "Third Master Shang, what martial art did you use just now?" "Haha, that's the ultimate martial art of the Shang clan, the Greater Void Steps. One step can cover a distance of 10,000 miles. What do you think? Amazing, right?" Third Master Shang said proudly. "Amazing, it's really amazing." Yi Fei's eyes lit up. The Greater Void Steps was a weaker version of the 10,000 miles in a flash talisman. If he could learn it, not only would it be easier for him to escape, it would also be easier for him to get a Zhongzhou and fetch his sister. Chapter 370. Holy Spirit Spring, what's wrong, young man? Do you want to learn? Third Master Shang saw Yi Fei's anticipation and shook his head. "It's a pity that the Great Void Technique and Great Void Steps are our Shang clan's secret techniques. They cannot be taught to outsiders. That's a pity." Yi Fei sighed. Although he had expected this outcome, hearing it from Third Master Shang himself still made Yi Fei feel dejected. Seeing Yi Fei's dejection, Third Master Shang felt a little embarrassed. After all, Yi Fei had helped him find a way to reconcile with his daughter and had also helped him search for the lost ageless elixir. Not only did Third Master Shang not thank such a kind-hearted young man, he even rejected Yi Fei to his face. This made Third Master Shang, who loved to uphold justice and was just as kind-hearted, feel very apologetic. "Young man, even though I, Third Master Shang, can't teach you the Great Void Steps, I'm not a petty person if you help me find the face-retaining elixir. How about this? I'll give you a gift." With that, Third Master Shang closed his eyes and stopped talking. Yi Fei, on the other hand, understood that Third Master Shang was probably using his psyche to sense the microcosm. His curiosity was piqued. This Third Master Shang may be a little crazy, but he's a good person. Since he said that he's going to give me a transformation, I don't think he's joking. I wonder what Third Master Shang is sensing. Yi Fei followed Third Master Shang's example and carefully observed his surroundings. But to his disappointment, this pocket world was too big. Yi Fei's current mental strength allowed him to detect even the slightest movement within a radius of a few hundred meters. As for how far Third Master Shang, a martial king, could detect, Yi Fei did not know. He only knew that the range was beyond his imagination. "Ha, I got it. Young man, I know what kind of fortune I should bestow upon you." Third Master Shang closed his eyes for a moment before speaking again. Yi Fei couldn't help but become spirited. He hurriedly asked, "Third Master, did you find a treasure? Could it be the Emperor's sword?" After entering the miniature world, Yi Fei constantly tried to sense the aura of the devouring spirit sword. However, he could not sense anything. This made Yi Fei very nervous. If the devouring spirit sword fell into the hands of another martial king, Yi Fei did not know how to explain it to the Devil Emperor. Third Master Shang paused for a moment before shaking his head with a smile. The sword of the Emperor? In that case, I did not sense it. I believe that the other martial kings did not sense it either. However, this third master discovered something else. You will know when you follow me. Boom! The void split open again. Third Master Shang did not give Yi Fei any chance to explain. He had already brought Yi Fei with him using the Great Void Steps and appeared in the sky above a dilapidated herb garden. This was where the ancient constellation sect used to cultivate spiritual herbs. Even though the constellation sect had been destroyed, there was still a part of the herb garden left in the miniature world. Many martial artists who had entered the miniature world were currently fighting around the herb garden. On the ground, Yi Fei could clearly see the corpses of 2 rank 10 martial honorables lying in a pool of blood. There were more than 10 injured rank 10 martial honorables. Most of them were in their twilight years. However, they were more impulsive than the younger ones. Even if they were injured, they would fight to the death. Even if it meant sacrificing their lives, they would fight to the death to obtain a spiritual herb. After all, spiritual herbs that had been planted in the ancient constellation sect had been there for 3,000 years. Even the most ordinary spiritual herbs would have become extremely powerful. However, these rank 10 martial honorables were not fighting over any spiritual herbs. They were fighting over a dry well. There were more than 10 of them, and they were fighting over the dry well. No one was willing to back down. It was just a dry well. Why are they fighting over it? Yi Fei asked Third Master Shang curiously. He knew that although Third Master Shang had gone crazy, that was only in terms of his emotions. He had not lost his judgment as a martial king. Seeing that Yi Fei had not noticed anything special about the dry well, Third Master Shang laughed out loud and said, "Young man, that is not as simple as a dry well. It is a sealed, holy spiritual fountain. There should be a spiritual vein underground. I can't teach you martial arts, so I can only give you a mouthful of spirit spring water. Are you satisfied? Holy spiritual fountain?" SS? Yi Fei finally understood why these rank 10 martial honorable realm experts were fighting so hard for the dried well. A spiritual spring like this was something that could only be found by chance. I am satisfied. Of course I am satisfied. Yi Fei said hurriedly. It would be a waste if he did not take advantage of this. Third Master Shang's appearance had already attracted the attention of these rank 10 martial honorables. When they heard that Third Master Shang wanted to take the holy spiritual fountain, they were all angered. With tacit understanding, the rank 10 martial honorables rushed towards Third Master Shang and shouted, "We found the holy spiritual fountain. If you don't want to die, get out of the way." When they saw that Yi Fei was a rank 5 martial honorable, their eyes were filled with disdain. Of course, they did not care about Third Master Shang either. In their eyes, they thought that the two of them were here to take advantage of the situation. Get lost. I do not want to bully old people like you. Other than the holy spiritual fountain, you can take everything else. Third Master Shang was always so crazy and strong. He did not even want to fight. His martial king aura had already scared the rank 10 martial honorables so much that they broke out in cold sweat. It is a martial king senior. Damn it. Shouldn't the martial kings have gone to the deeper regions to look for the emperor's sword? If we knew this would happen, we would not have fought for this spiritual fountain. It turned out that these people had already found the spiritual fountain. They were just afraid that the martial kings would find it and come to fight for it. In the past month, they had purposely fought and pretended to fight for the spiritual herbs. After a month, when they were sure that the martial kings had gone to the deeper regions to look for treasures and would not pay attention to the spiritual fountain, the martial kings finally turned hostile and started a civil war. The tragedy was that they had met Yi Fei, who had arrived late. Beside him was the Mad Martial King, a super fighter. The martial artist fight for the spiritual fountain over the past month had all gone down the drain. Many of the rank 10 martial artists were so angry that their faces turned black. Even more martial artists were so scared that they quickly apologized. So, is a martial king senior? Since senior has taken a fancy to the spiritual fountain, we will leave now. After saying that, the 10 or so martial honorable realm experts had already pulled out the nearby spirit grasses and spirit medicines with faces full of misfortune. They ran as fast as they could, throwing away the watermelons and only picking up a few small sesame seeds. That loss made Yi Fei feel pain for them. At this time, Yi Fei finally realized how comfortable it was to have a martial king expert by his side. For example, if it was Yi Fei who had fought for the holy spiritual fountain, those rank 10 martial artists would have slapped Yi Fei to death, not to mention fighting for it. But now, Yi Fei didn't need to do anything. He could easily obtain a saint-level spirit spring. Young man, this spiritual fountain now belongs to you. Quickly absorb it and increase your strength. Then we will go and look for the face-preserving pill. Chapter 371. Rank 6 Martial Honored Realm Boom. The seal on the well was broken, and a shocking wave of spiritual chi quickly filled the entire herb garden. The density of the spiritual chi was comparable to that of a medium spiritual stone. It is indeed a saint-level spiritual spring that has been sealed for thousands of years. With this spiritual chi, I might be able to break through to the rank 6 Martial Honored Realm. Thank you, Third Master. Yi Fei cupped his fists respectfully towards Third Master Shang. Initially, he had been afraid of angering this crazy martial king and had no choice but to lie to him. However, now that Third Master Shang had given him such a generous gift, Yi Fei secretly decided that he must help Third Master Shang find the ageless elixir. Even if the Constellation sect did not have it, the Demon King, who had lived for thousands of years, would definitely know the formula for the ageless elixir. This was also the reason why Yi Fei had dared to enter the herb garden and fight with a group of martial kings for the devouring soul sword. The Demon King was Yi Fei's source of confidence. Yi Fei walked in front of the well and looked at the astonishing amount of spirit liquid that had filled the well in an instant. Without hesitation, he jumped into the spirit liquid and madly began to cultivate. The Demon King's scripture was instantly activated to the maximum, but it was not enough. Although the Demon King's scripture was powerful, it could not absorb all the spiritual chi in the saint-level spiritual spring. Yi Fei made up his mind and awakened the undying sword soul from its deep slumber. He allowed it to absorb the powerful spiritual chi in a frenzy. The combination of the two made Yi Fei's cultivation scene extremely shocking. Boom! A formless sword shadow suddenly exploded from Yi Fei's body. In the blink of an eye, it formed a terrifying sword radiance. The sword radiance shot up to the sky and tore through the firmament. Finally, above Yi Fei's head, a gigantic black hole was formed, endlessly devouring the spiritual liquid. Sword intent needed to be comprehended, but there were also special circumstances. For example, this kind of naturally formed saint-grade spiritual spring had the effect of forcibly increasing one's martial will. This was also the reason why the rank 10 martial honorables were willing to risk their lives to fight for the saint-level spiritual spring. Unfortunately, in the end, the spirit spring still belonged to Yi Fei. Yi Fei's devouring sword intent skyrocketed after being stimulated by the large amount of spiritual liquid in the spiritual spring. Originally, Yi Fei would have needed at least 3 months of hard work to break through to 60% sword intent, and this was under the condition that he used the undying sword soul to increase his comprehension ability. However, with the help of the saint-level spirit spring, Yi Fei had successfully raised the devouring sword intent from 50% to 60% in just an hour. His sword principle had become even more powerful. What's with the sword will? It even contains a very rare devouring power. Isn't this young man using his fists? Why is he using a sword? Third Master Shang sat cross-legged in the sky far away as he stared at Yi Fei with a crazed look in his eyes. If he had not seen Yi Fei use his fist will with his own eyes, Yi Fei's sword will was so strong that Third Master Shang would have immediately recognized Yi Fei's identity. As he cultivated, Yi Fei also knew that if he exposed his sword will, he would definitely arouse Third Master Shang's suspicion. Fortunately, he was already prepared. After raising his sword will to 60%, he decisively withdrew his devouring sword intent. Yi Fei did not give Third Master Shang any time to doubt his words. A terrifying, murderous aura shot up to the sky from Yi Fei's body as he released his slaughtering fist will and continued to use the special characteristics of the saint-level spirit spring to strengthen his fist will. Under the nourishment of the spiritual qi and the undying sword soul's comprehension ability, Yi Fei's killing aura became stronger and stronger. In the end, a blood-red killing aura formed around the spirit spring. As the killing aura spun around the spirit spring, Yi Fei's killing fist will also increased rapidly. 30%, 40%, 50%, 60%. In just 6 hours, Yi Fei's fist will had caught up with his sword will. The two had reached a miraculous balance. At this time, almost 2/3 of the spiritual qi in the spirit spring had been depleted. Third Master Shang's heart ached when he saw this. He had not expected Yi Fei to be so torturous. If Yi Fei had only used the spirit spring to cultivate, Third Master Shang would have waited for Yi Fei to finish his cultivation before going to the spirit spring himself to cultivate. Even if he could not increase his cultivation level, he could still strengthen his own inner yuan. Yi Fei, on the other hand, had sucked in 2/3 of it in one breath, leaving only 1/3. Third Master Shang was secretly shocked by the power of Yi Fei's Devil Imperial Sutra, even in his crazed state. He has 2 martial wills, and his cultivation technique seems to be at the Emperor level. This young man is not simple. He can't be the Yi Fei. Who would have thought that Third Master Shang, almost became a villain? When Third Master Shang thought about how he had doubted Yi Fei, a warm-hearted young man just like himself, his face filled with shame. Just as Third Master Shang was feeling ashamed, the last third of the spiritual spring was sucked clean by the domineering Devil Emperor Sutra. When Yi Fei walked out of the spirit spring, his aura was twice as strong as before. He had reached the level of a 6th-level martial honorable. What surprised Yi Fei the most was that his martial will had increased to 60%. This was an unexpected surprise given to him by Third Master Shang. Hence, when Yi Fei walked out of the spirit spring, the first thing he did was to thank Third Master Shang. Third Master Shang, I really have to thank you this time. I will definitely help you with the ageless elixir. Yi Fei promised Third Master Shang as a form of gratitude. Don't mention it. It's just a small matter. Young man, don't take it to heart. Third Master Shang forced himself to be forthright. However, his face twitched as he looked at the withered spirit spring that did not even have a trace of spirit energy. After all, Third Master Shang's original plan was to wait for Yi Fei to break through to the 6th-level martial honorable before he went over to absorb the remaining spiritual qi. How would he have thought that Yi Fei's martial arts would be more perverse than the other? Before Third Master could even open his mouth, the entire saint-level spirit spring had already been completely absorbed. When he saw Third Master Shang's pale face, Yi Fei was a little worried. Had he been cultivating for too long and had made the mad martial king impatient? Immediately, Yi Fei probed. Third Master Shang, have you been waiting for too long? You seem to be in a bad mood. Young man, don't worry. I am in a good mood. You have no idea how happy I am to see you break through. How could Third Master Shang admit that he had been taken advantage of by Junior? He immediately forced himself to laugh heartily to prove that he was actually very happy. Wahaha! With a heart-wrenching laugh, Third Master Shang grabbed Yi Fei again and used the Greater Void steps. Young man, since your strength has increased, let's go find the Martial Kings and ask them about the whereabouts of the ageless elixir. Boom! The void split open and closed. Yi Fei and Third Master Shang were no longer in the dilapidated herb garden. Bam! At the same time, at the entrance of the pocket dimension, the 10th Prince and Sure Feng were tied up and thrown to the ground by the experts of the Merchant Alliance. Shang Luo was so angry that his face was flushed red. He gritted his teeth and pointed inside. "You too, tell me the truth. Did that beast slip inside after tricking me?" "How is that possible, Fairy Luo? Only level 10 martial honorables can enter that place. How could Yi Fei have entered?" The 10th Prince was still unwilling to confess. If it had been anyone else, they would not have doubted his words. However, if it was a delinquent girl like Shangluo, she would scoff at his words. "Oomph, do you think you can fool me? Others might not have the guts to enter, but that shameless bastard, Yi Fei, definitely has the guts to enter." Shangluo was very confident. After fuming for a while, she saw that Third Master Shang still had not appeared. Shangluo was even angrier. She cursed, "Damn it, it seems like Third Uncle has been tricked by him again. This time, no matter what, I will expose Yi Fei's true colors in front of Third Uncle." As she spoke, Shangluo had already led a large group of experts into the small world. Only the 10th Prince and Sure Feng, who were tied up, were left on the ground. They looked at each other in dismay. Sure Feng asked curiously, "What did Yi Fei do to Fairy Luo? This is the first time I've seen Fairy Luo so angry." The 10th Prince looked up to the sky and sighed. His tone was sour as he said, "Yi Fei didn't do anything. He only robbed Luo Xianzi once. It said that he stole more than one of Luo Xianzi's undergarments." "Yi Fei really did it?" Chapter 372. Gathering of Martial Kings. The constellation sect's small world was bigger than Yi Fei had imagined. Even with Martial King's continuous use of the Greater Void Steps, it was hard for him to reach the end of the small world. Along the way, Yi Fei saw countless mountains and ancient palaces. Unfortunately, these palaces had been there for thousands of years and were in ruins. As far as the eye could see, there were broken walls and ruins everywhere, as well as destroyed mountain peaks. On the ground, one could see incomparably huge cracks. From above, it looked like a giant's palm had smashed down from the sky. Not only did it destroy most of the small world, it also killed many of the Constellation Sect disciples. At the same time, the corpses of the Constellation Sect disciples from thousands of years ago had become the targets of many top powers. Along the way, there were battles between rank 10 martial honorables. However, no one dared to go near them. When they saw Third Master Shang tearing the void and appearing from afar, they ran away in fear. The rank 10 martial honorables were not ignorant. They knew that those who could step into the void were martial kings, and they could not afford to offend them. Yi Fei also experienced the feeling of a fox borrowing the tiger's power. Originally, with his rank 5 martial honorable strength, even if he entered the small world, it would be difficult for him to move around in a place where rank 10 martial honorables could appear at any time. However, with Martial King around, it was different. The top powers along the way made way for him, and no one dared to stop him. The only thing that puzzled Yi Fei was that he had already entered the depths of the small world. When he was cultivating, he had purposely activated the Demon Emperor scripture. As long as the Demon Emperor's primordial spirit existed, it would be impossible for him not to sense it. Why was there no movement from the Demon Emperor? He could not even sense the summoning of the spirit-devouring sword. Could it be that something has happened to the Demon Emperor? Or maybe someone has beaten us to it and has already started fighting for the spirit-devouring sword. When Yi Fei thought of this, he started to feel anxious. Third Master Shang, how long will it take for us to find those martial kings? It's hard to say. The small world of the ancient sect is beyond imagination. However, I can sense that those martial kings are gathered at the end of the small world. I can sense that there's a strong seal there. It must be left Martial King mad, Martial King. Third Master Shang's expression was grave as he spoke. Yi Fei knew that despite Third Master Shang's madness, his battle instincts as a martial king were unaffected. Since Third Master Shang had said that there was a powerful seal on the other side, then it must be true. I can only hope that the seal can withstand the attacks of so many Martial King experts. Yi Fei sighed. In front of a Martial King realm expert, this was the first time he felt so powerless. Haha, don't worry, young man. We will definitely find the face-retaining pill. As long as you can make Luo sincerely call me father, I will reward you handsomely. I will even marry my daughter to you. It was rare for Third Master Shang to crack a joke. When Yi Fei heard this joke, he felt a chill run down his spine. Marry Shanglua to me? Third Master, you're not joking. You're telling a horror story. Achoo. Which bastard is cursing me for no reason? If I find out who he is, I will chop him to death. In the herb garden where Yi Fei used to cultivate, there was a little girl who looked like she was carved from jade. She carried an exaggerated dragon-shaped saber on her shoulder. Who else could it be but Shang Luo? Without any outsiders around, Shang Luo did not have to continue pretending to be a beautiful girl. She quickly used the 10,000-mile talisman and chased after Yi Fei based on her instincts. However, she was still a step too late. Yi Fei had already left with Third Master Shang. Shang Luo was so angry that she slashed the air with her saber. This is so infuriating. Third Uncle is such an idiot. Not only is he crazy, but he is also so easily fooled by Yi Fei. The expert from the Shang Alliance also frowned. First Miss, Third Master has the Greater Void Steps. We can't catch up with him. Why don't we wait for him outside? There were rank 10 martial honorable realm experts everywhere in the pocket dimension. Shang Luo was also carrying the sacred weapon embryo everywhere. They were really afraid that someone would have evil intentions towards Shang Luo. Who said I can't catch up? If I knew Third Uncle was so easily fooled, I would have secretly learned the Greater Void Steps. Shang Luo snorted coldly. She waved the dragon-shaped saber in her hand and tore a small crack in the air. The experts from the Shang Alliance were so frightened that they broke out in cold sweat. First Miss, don't use the Greater Void Steps. You're too fast. We can't catch up. I don't need you to follow me. I have the sacred weapon embryo and the Greater Void Steps. Unless a martial king intervenes, you can forget about catching me. Shang Luo's little girl had a deep grudge against Yi Fei. Before the experts from the Shang Alliance could stop her, Shang Luo had already disappeared into thin air. Strange, this is so strange. Why do I feel a little scared? Yi Fei felt strange. Even when he was caught by the mad martial king in front of him, this had not happened. Haha, young man, it's good that you're scared. The people in front of us are all martial kings. TSK. A total of 10 martial kings have appeared at the same time. The North region hasn't been so lively for a long time. The crack in the air opened, and Third Master Shang finally brought Yi Fei to the end of the pocket dimension. In front of Yi Fei was a huge tower. It was another demon ceiling tower. However, this demon ceiling tower was different from the one that trapped the Demon Emperor. Tianyan Wufu's demon ceiling tower was real. However, the demon ceiling tower in front of them was illusory. It floated in the air at the end of the pocket dimension, making it hard to see it clearly. It's the tower's spirit. It seems that the rumors are true. There was a great battle between martial emperors here. The weapon of one of the martial emperors was suppressed by the Emperor Weapon Tower Spirit. Third Master Shang exclaimed. Third Master Shang, what is the Tower Spirit? Yi Fei asked humbly. All things have spirits. Usually, divine weapons have the chance to develop their own spirit. However, to be willing to separate this spirit and use it to suppress other people's weapons, this ancient martial emperor is really sparing no expense. Third Master Shang gave a simple explanation. Then, he brought Yi Fei to the peak where the tower spirit was. At this moment, the peak was completely covered by the aura of the 10 martial kings. Not even a needle could pierce through it. It was obvious that the 10 martial kings had come to an agreement. They released their aura to warn the martial kings that they had already occupied this place, and that they should not provoke them. The aura of the 10 martial kings made Yi Fei's breathing stop. He hurriedly activated the Demon Sutra and the golden body of the fighting demon. Only then did he feel a little better. After all, he had Third Master Shang, the Mad Martial King, as his backer. When he saw Third Master Shang walking up, Yi Fei quickly followed. This caused the expressions of the 10 martial kings above to turn ugly. Chapter 373. Testing the waters, 6th layer, Martial Highness trash. I'll give you one breath's time to piss off the mountain. This is the place for us martial emperors, not a place for a mere ant like you. The youngest martial emperor among the 10 martial emperors stepped forward and scolded Yi Fei under the instruction of the old man beside him. Yi Fei glanced at the martial emperor and realized that he was only a few years older than him, but he was already a first-layer martial emperor expert, causing him to exclaim. However, the young man's attitude was extremely arrogant, and his aura was extremely strong. Knowing that there were so many martial emperors present, Yi Fei decided to keep a low profile and ignored the young man, following Third Master Shang up the mountain. Trash! I'm talking to you, didn't you hear me? I told you piss off. Down! Down! The young martial emperor uttered each word with a furious expression. Seeing a mere 6th-layer martial highness realm ant ignoring him, a first-layer martial emperor expert, the young man immediately unleashed his aura of the martial emperor realm without hesitation, which transformed into a martial emperor aura that avoided Third Master Shang's path and suppressed Yi Fei's figure. The young martial emperor's intention was simple. Since Yi Fei had ignored him, he wanted Yi Fei to piss off the mountain in front of the martial emperor experts. Not only would he be able to test Third Master Shang's strength, he would also be able to humiliate Yi Fei. Although he had already decided to keep a low profile, this young martial emperor was still unwilling to forgive him and even wanted him to piss off the mountain. Even someone with a good temper would not be able to endure it, not to mention that Yi Fei was not the kind of person who would submit easily. He would rather die standing than live kneeling. Since you want to humiliate me, don't blame me for humiliating you. Previously, when he was still a 10th-layer martial ancestor, Yi Fei was able to resist Nan Ruofeng's martial emperor aura with an unyielding will. The young man in front of him was only at the same level as Nan Ruofeng. Thus Yi Fei would not show any sign of weakness. Feeling the aura of the martial emperor descending upon him, Yi Fei opened his eyes wide and uttered a roar as the 3rd-layer battle demon golden body protected him. Boom! The aura of a martial king was unable to harm Yi Fei. It merely shook the ground where Yi Fei stood, creating a few huge cracks that extended endlessly to the foot of the mountain. Your martial emperor aura is nothing more than this? Yi Fei shot a disdainful glance at the martial king youth. Just this glance made the youth's arrogant face turn ashen. This little fellow's cultivation technique is not bad. With that golden body defense, I reckon that no one below the martial honorable realm can match him. That's right. If he were to become a martial king, he would be even more powerful than Chunjie, the new martial king. The 2 old martial kings observed the powerful defense of Yi Fei's golden body and couldn't help but discuss with each other. Although the other 7 martial kings didn't say anything, they also looked at Yi Fei with astonishment. The leader of the group was a middle-aged man in a blood-red robe. After sizing up Yi Fei, he could not help but widen his eyes in disbelief. You, how dare a mere level 6 martial, honorable disrespect a martial king like me? Kneel down and speak to me. The martial king youth was flustered and exasperated. He was already angry that he had not been able to make Yi Fei roll down the mountain in front of everyone. What made him even angrier was that the 2 old seniors had actually said that he, Chunjie, would be inferior to this ant in the future. Chunjie could not hold himself back. Originally, he had only wanted to use Yi Fei to test Third Master Shang. Now, Chunjie had used a special method to suppress Yi Fei with his martial king aura and condensed it into a formless palm. Like a millstone, the palm rumbled as it pressed down on Yi Fei. Oh no! This person is too vicious. If this palm lands, I'm afraid that my ward demon golden body will not be able to withstand it. Yi Fei's face changed. He had not expected that the youth would be so ruthless in a mere argument. Not only did he humiliate him, he even wanted to injure him severely. This was the cruelty of the martial world. Without strength, one could not even find a place to reason with others. No matter how strong the defense of the war demon golden body was, without the support of the Phoenix blood sword, Yifei knew that it was impossible for him to withstand Chunjie's palm. Yifei immediately hesitated whether he should take out the Phoenix blood sword. At this moment, Third Master Shang, who was walking in front, suddenly spoke, "Young man, stand still. With Third Master Shang here, no one will be able to hurt you." After he finished speaking, a protective shield containing the martial king aura enveloped Yifei. At this moment, the formless palm that Chunjie had condensed landed heavily on the protective shield. However, it did not hurt Yifei at all. Instead, Yifei's face turned red from the recoil, and he felt so uncomfortable that he almost vomited blood. Boom! Another formless aura exploded between Third Master Shang and the three martial king experts. At this moment, Yifei finally understood why Third Master Shang had not helped him when Chunjie first attacked. It turned out that there were three other martial kings attacking Third Master Shang in the dark. Unfortunately, Yifei's current cultivation level was too low. He did not even notice how the three martial kings attacked. This made Yifei feel fortunate that he had an expert like Third Master Shang by his side to protect him. Otherwise, with his current strength, he would not even be able to get close to the mountain where the martial kings gathered. Without being able to climb up the mountain, Yifei would not be able to enter the demon ceiling tower's pagoda spirit that appeared and disappeared in the void. The three martial kings attacked together, but they were unable to suppress Third Master Shang. What was more frightening was that Third Master Shang still had the strength to protect Yifei. This immediately stunned all the martial kings present. "Senior, are you a martial king realm LV10 expert?" The old man beside Chunjie looked at Third Master Shang in shock. He quickly went forward and apologized. "Senior, please forgive us for our probing just now. We just did not want more people to fight with us for the Emperor's sword." "I'm not interested in the Emperor's sword. I am here for the ageless elixir. Of course, if any of you find the ageless elixir, give it to me and I will leave immediately." Third Master Shang was very anxious. The ageless elixir was his treasure to make his daughter happy. "Senior, you're only here for the ageless elixir?" Hearing this, the 10 martial kings were speechless. He did not want the Emperor's sword but wanted the ageless elixir. This senior is really weird. "So you are Third Master Shang of the Merchant Alliance. I have heard a lot about you. Unfortunately, we have searched many ruins and did not find the ageless elixir." One of the martial kings had already recognized Third Master Shang as the crazy martial king of the Merchant Alliance. Immediately, his hostility disappeared. Most of the others were the same. After all, Third Master Shang of the Merchant Alliance was famous for being crazy. There is no conflict of interest between the two sides, so why should they provoke such a crazy person? Even Chunjie was pulled back by the old man beside him. Chunjie glared at Yifei in annoyance and did not say anything else. Instead, he looked at the leader of the group, the blood-robed martial king, like the others. This blood-robed martial king was none other than the blood demon sect enforcer who was chasing after Yifei. He did not manage to catch up with Yifei in the sea of constellations. When he arrived at the island, he discovered the Emperor's sword. This enforcer was so happy that he forgot about chasing after Yifei and rushed over to snatch the treasure. Chapter 374. The Battle of the Kings. Sensing that Third Master Shang was also a 10th realm martial king, the blood demon sect protector could not stop Third Master Shang from entering the pagoda spirit. He could only nod coldly and say, "So, it's Third Master Shang of the Shang clan's 3 heroes. If you want to enter, we will not stop you. However, this brat has a great grudge against me. Third Master, you must hand him over to me." The blood-robed martial king suddenly pointed at Yifei. A sinister smile flashed across his face. Hearing this person's voice, Yifei's expression changed greatly. He was all too familiar with this voice. It was exactly the same as the voice of the leader of the blood demon sect who had chased after him in the sea of constellations. Yi Fei felt extremely unlucky. Only now did he know that the Blood Demon sect had not given up on chasing after him, and had even chased him all the way to the Sea of Constellations. What was even more terrifying was that the person chasing after him was a 10th realm martial king expert. What should he do? Fight? With his strength, he probably could not even compare to a single hair of the Blood Demon sect protector. Run? Could he escape from the pursuit of a 10th realm martial king expert? Demon Emperor, you've killed me. Yi Fei was very depressed. If he had not come to the Sea of Constellations, he would not have provoked such a terrifying enemy like the Blood Demon sect's protector. More importantly, Third Master Shang, who had been forcefully pulled over as a fighter, might not be willing to help. Instantly, Yi Fei felt like he was in a dilemma. Helplessly, under the gaze of 10 martial king experts, Yi Fei could not even find a chance to escape. Chun Jie revealed a gloating expression and said, Senior Shang, he's just a 6th realm martial honorable ant. If you abandon him, you can enter the pagoda spirit with us to search for treasures. Why are you so stubborn? Shut your dog mouth. Third Master Shang was enraged. Due to his anger, his already explosive hair stood up like lightning needles. Do you think that I, Third Master Shang, am such a despicable person? This young man is not only warm-hearted, he is also deeply in love with my daughter. He did not hesitate to risk his life just to snatch back Loloa's stolen clothes. Such a good young man, I, Third Master Shang, intend to treat him as a potential son-in-law. Third Master Shang very straightforwardly rejected blood-robed Martial King's request. Yi Fei heaved a sigh of relief. Even though Third Master Shang was crazy, he was still a warm-hearted man. However, Yi Fei was speechless when he heard that he was deeply in love with Shanglaw. Shanglaw, who was rushing over from the small world, sneezed several times in a row. Hearing this, Chun Jie was suddenly filled with jealousy. He had long heard of Luo Xianzi's beauty. In the end, Third Master Shang had gone crazy and wanted to treat Yi Fei as a potential son-in-law. Chun Jie was very angry. Even a martial king like him had not encountered such a good thing. How could that 6th level martial honorable Yi Fei encounter such a good thing? I heard that the Shang clan's 3rd master had gone mad from cultivating. I thought the rumors were false, but it turned out to be true. An ant can't even enter your Shang clan's door. You actually think that a hero like your elder brother will marry his daughter to him? The blood-robed martial king sneered. Unexpectedly, his words touched 3rd Master Shang's reverse scale. One had to know that no lunatic would admit that he was crazy. Furthermore, blood-robed Martial King had pointed out that Shanglaw was not 3rd Master Shang's daughter. 3rd Master Shang's madness instantly exploded. Roar, what did you say? Luo is not my daughter? She is clearly my daughter. Young man, tell me, is Luo my daughter? Are you my son-in-law? 3rd Master Shang roared crazily at Yi Fei, his voice almost deafening Yi Fei's ears. Yi Fei felt bitter in his heart. He knew that 3rd Master Shang had gone crazy. At this time, he could only go along with 3rd Master Shang's wishes. 3rd Master, Shangluo is your daughter. Then why did he say that Luo is my elder brother's daughter? 3rd Master Shang roared angrily. Then, without waiting for Yi Fei's reply, the crazy 3rd Master Shang had already thought of a reason. 3rd Master, I know. He must be lying to me. Luo said that I would be deceived by others. He said such words to sow discord between my daughter and me. Die. I want you dead. Anyone who dares to harm Luo must die. Boom. Heaven and earth shook. 3rd Master Shang tore through the void and rushed to the side of the blood-robed Martial King in an instant. The power of a 10th level Martial King caused the nearby weak Martial Kings to lose their footing and quickly retreat. The 10 Martial Kings were all shocked. The blood-robed Martial King was also dumbfounded. Who would have thought that he would only speak the truth and cause 3rd Master Shang to go berserk? It could be seen that a berserk madman was not to be trifled with. This sentence was not groundless. The blood-robed Martial King spat out a small mouthful of blood on the spot from 3rd Master Shang's slap. After the shock, The blood-robed martial king also flew into a rage. Shang Lao San, others are afraid of your Shang clan, but I am not. I want to see if your Shang clan's Great Void technique is as miraculous as the rumors say. Infinite Blood Demon. The blood he spat out turned into a pool of blood. Countless terrifying blood hands reached out from the pool of blood and crazily grabbed at Third Master Shang's body. Anyway, with Third Master Shang's strength, once he broke the seal and entered the pagoda's spirit, he would become his greatest opponent. The blood-robed martial king used his full strength to fight with Third Master Shang. It would be good if he could kill him, but at the very least, he had to chase him away. That way, he would have the greatest chance of obtaining the Emperor's sword. Of course, while fighting with Third Master Shang, the blood-robed martial king did not forget about Yi Fei. While fighting with the crazy Third Master Shang, the blood-robed martial king's cold eyes were already fixed on Yi Fei. The corner of his mouth carried a trace of mockery. "Aunt, you made me look for you. Killing my subordinates and stealing the blood booty is a capital crime. Before I kill this madman, you will die first." Puff! The blood-robed martial king suddenly opened his mouth and spat out a large mouthful of blood. The blood quickly condensed into a first-layer martial king blood demon that rushed towards Yi Fei with a sinister smile. Yi Fei was so scared that cold sweat rolled down his back. The protector of the blood demon sect was so terrifying. Facing the crazy Third Master Shang, not only did he have the strength to spare, he was also able to condense a first-layer martial king avatar. No wonder all the martial kings present seemed to be led by the blood-robed martial king. Yi Fei's face was covered in cold sweat. At this moment, he did not hesitate and quickly turned around, wanting to escape. The blood-robed martial king was too strong. Yi Fei did not have any chance of winning. Third Master Shang was in a frenzy and would not notice him at all, other than escaping. Yi Fei could not think of any other way. Haha, trying to escape? This is the Martial King Mountain. Since you're here, you can either live or die in battle. Chun Jie, who was standing at the side, suddenly let out a sinister laugh. Without waiting for Yi Fei to escape, his first-layer martial king aura once again suppressed Yi Fei. Although Chun Jie did not dare to harm Yi Fei due to Third Master Shang's aura, he could still plot against Yi Fei by using his aura to force him to face the blood-robed martial king's blood demon avatar. Although the other 8 martial kings did not make their moves, they still stood in a circle with tacit understanding. Everyone's auras were connected, enveloping the entire mountain peak with the auras of the martial kings. It was obvious that these people had formed some kind of alliance with the blood-robed martial king. Due to their cultivation bases, they did not bother to attack Yi Fei, but they would not let Yi Fei leave so easily. Fellow cultivators, thanks a lot. And today I will use your flesh and blood to water the blood bodhi again. Chapter 375. The sacred weapons might. How terrifying was the attack of a first-level martial king? The blood spear of the blood demon incarnation tore through the void, mercilessly trying to tear Yi Fei's body into pieces. Yi Fei's expression suddenly became incomparably solemn. He knew that at this time, preserving his strength was courting death. Helpless, he could only roar and release the Phoenix blood sword. Boom! As if sensing Yi Fei's danger, the Phoenix blood sword's flames formed a huge flaming sword light. Yi Fei held in his hand and slashed forward. No matter how terrifying the blood spear condensed by the blood demon incarnation was, it was still cut in half by the Phoenix blood sword. The blood-robed martial king, who was still fighting with Third Master Shang, could not help but reveal a shocked expression. How is this possible? My supreme treasure, the blood god spear, was actually cut in two. Is that the sacred weapon's embryo? The blood-robed martial king finally took a serious look at Yi Fei, and it was this look that caused the blood-robed martial king to be slightly distracted. Third Master Shang immediately took advantage of this flaw and rushed in front of the blood-robed martial king again with the great void step. His palm rumbled as it tore through the void, forming a huge void palm that slammed forward. Boundless Blood Sea. The blood-robed martial king finally experienced the price of being distracted. He was instantly suppressed by Third Master Shang and could not dodge the palm. He could only activate the blood sea under his feet to the limit, forming a terrifying blood pool. Then, the blood-robed martial king's entire body seemed to fuse with the blood pool. A total of more than 3,000 blood palms stretched out from the blood pool and pulled at Third Master Shang's body, trying to pull him into the blood pool. The crazy Third Master Shang laughed wildly, his eyes indescribably crazy and cold. Haha, Third Master Shang thought you had some ability. So it turns out that you're just a scum of the Blood Demon sect. You are hated by everyone in the Middle State. How dare you be so presumptuous in the northern region? Great Void Crack. Condensing a giant void palm was not enough. Third Master Shang activated a silver lightning as thick as a water tank in the middle of his palm and smashed it into the blood pool. Ah! The blood-robed martial king screamed as he was struck by lightning. Even though Third Lord Shang was a 10th layer martial king, the blood pool of the blood-robed martial king was only able to block a portion of the lightning. The other half of the lightning still shattered the blood pool, revealing the blood-robed martial king's sorry figure. Sensing his own miserable state, the blood-robed martial king was instantly enraged. Ignoring his injuries, he actually charged towards Third Master Shang and said, "Third Master Shang, you are indeed a madman. You really want to fight, right? Fine, I will kill you today. Let's see what your Shang family can do to me. None of you are allowed to touch that brat. That brat has my incarnation. Go and kill him." When the blood-robed martial king made up his mind to fight with Third Master Shang, he didn't forget to warn the surrounding martial kings not to interfere with his incarnation's battle with Yi Fei. When they saw the phoenix blood sword in Yi Fei's hand, the martial kings, who had already revealed greedy gazes, all had ugly expressions on their faces. Chun Jie's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. He didn't understand. His talent was clearly stronger than Yi Fei's, his family background was stronger than Yi Fei's, and in every aspect, he was thousands of miles ahead of Yi Fei. Why couldn't he be favored by an expert like Third Master Shang? Why couldn't he have the embryo of a sacred artifact like the Phoenix Blood Sword? One had to know that this was a treasure that could become a sacred artifact in the future. With it, one could even fight against a martial saint. The blood-robed martial king actually forbade them from snatching it and wanted to take it all for himself. Chun Jie couldn't stand it anymore and said to the old man beside him, "Grandfather, this blood-robed martial king is going too far. That sacred artifact isn't his. Why can't we fight for it?" "Jie, bear with it for now. With our strength, we are still not a match for the blood-robed martial king and the mad martial king. We have to wait until both of them are injured before we make our move." Old Master Chen's eyes were cold as he spoke to Chun Jie and the other martial kings beside him. These martial kings nodded in understanding. They understood that the Chun family's grandfather and grandson wanted to sit on a mountain and watch the tigers fight before reaping the benefits. They didn't object. After all, the strongest people here were Third Master Shang and the blood-robed martial king. If the two of them were seriously injured or killed in battle, then the chance for the others to obtain the Emperor's sword would come. Compared to the Emperor's sword, the embryo of the sacred artifact in Yi Fei's hand seemed insignificant. Thus, the 9 martial kings present did not make a move. They all watched coldly as the blood demon incarnation killed Yi Fei. Kill. Boundless Blood Sea. And die for this seat. The blood demon incarnation's fighting style was exactly the same as the blood-robed martial king. At the same time, its body was covered in blood, transforming into a terrifying pool of blood. This pool of blood could be used for both defense and attack. It was extremely strange. Seeing that the surrounding martial kings did not make a move, the blood demon incarnation immediately unleashed its full strength. From the blood pool, a total of 300 terrifying blood hands stretched out and grabbed at Yi Fei. Yi Fei's hair stood on end when he saw this. A voice in his heart told him that he absolutely could not be caught by these blood hands. Otherwise, he would be consigned to eternal damnation. Helplessly, Yifei did not have the ability of Third Master Shang to release the Void Thunder Palm and directly blow up the blood pool. The only thing he could do was to wave the Phoenix Blood Sword and retreat while quickly cutting off the blood hands that approached him. The 60% devouring sword intent gave Yifei a pleasant surprise. He realized that by relying on the 60% devouring sword intent and the power of the Phoenix Blood Sword, he could actually barely resist these blood hands. Great! It seems that the first Martial King realm is not as terrifying as I thought. After cutting off those blood hands, I will find an opportunity to use the Emperor's Sword Art and see if I can kill this incarnation. Yifei secretly thought as he waved the Phoenix Blood Sword faster and faster. Excited, Yifei roared. With his free left hand, he used the Saint-class martial skill, the Sky Demon Kill. The 60% devouring sword intent also made Yifei's fist technique extremely sharp. It was just that the speed at which he cut off the blood hands was not as sharp as the Phoenix Blood Sword. However, Yifei continuously sent out Heavenly Demon Kill in all directions, shattering some of the bloody hands. Phoenix Blood Sword, Sky Demon Kill. This kid is only a martial honorable, and he has actually comprehended 2 martial wills. No wonder Third Master Shang thinks highly of him. Yifei's performance shocked all the martial kings present. Chun Jie was so jealous that his eyes were about to spit fire. 2 martial wills, damn it. As the strongest genius in the Chun manor, even my Chun family is unable to comprehend 2 martial wills. This trash of a 6th martial honorable is actually ahead of me. Jie, look on the bright side. No matter how talented he is, he still needs to be able to grow. Do you think that he will have a chance to grow while surrounded by us 9 martial kings? Old Master Chen calmly comforted his grandson. Chun Jie's expression became better, but his gaze towards Yifei was still extremely cold. The martial kings present all subconsciously thought that the 2 martial wills were Yifei's greatest trump card. Chapter 376. Helplessly attacking Boom. In the middle of the battle between Yifei and the Blood Demon Incarnation, the void suddenly split open. A beautiful girl, carrying a domineering dragon-shaped saber with an incomparably elegant posture, had already used the void steps and walked out with an incomparably domineering aura. She instantly pointed her saber at Yifei. Yifei, let's see where you can escape to this time. Shangluan gnashed her teeth the moment she appeared. She couldn't wait to kill Yifei 10,000 times on the spot. He actually dared to auction off her worn underwear and even spread it everywhere. How preposterous! Seeing Shangluan appear, Yifei suddenly had the urge to bang his head against the wall. Damn it. We're in the middle of the battle, okay? You, a little girl at the first level of the martial honorable realm, suddenly appeared in our midst. If this isn't courting death, then what is? What made Yifei the most speechless was that Shangluan had appeared in the direction of his sword. At this moment, if Yifei used the Swallowing Sky style to attack the Blood Demon Incarnation, he would definitely injure Shangluan. It could be said that Shanglua's appearance had unfortunately interrupted the opportunity that Yifei had seized with great difficulty. The surrounding martial kings and the Blood Demon Incarnation were all shocked by Shanglua's appearance. Who would have thought that a little girl at the first level of the martial honorable realm, like Shangluan, would come in as she pleased, completely ignoring the restrictions that they had set up? Of course, this was due to the wonders of the Shang clan's Great Void Steps. At the same time, it also indirectly showed Shanglua's talent and strength. She's Luo Xinzi? As expected, she's gentle and charming. If I could play with her once, I wouldn't mind losing 10 years of my life. Chun Jie looked at Shang Luo's slender figure and fairy-like face, and he couldn't help but swallow his saliva. What? She's the first miss of the Shang clan, Shang Luo, the daughter of that hero Shang Batian. Seeing Shang Luo's appearance, apart from Chun Jie, the 8 martial emperors all wore unpleasant expressions. First, The Shang clan's mad martial king appeared. Then Shanglua rushed in. Could it be that the Shang clan also wanted the emperor's sword hidden here? In the sky, third Master Shang, who was already locked in battle with the blood-robed martial king, heard Shanglua's voice. His crazy eyes suddenly flashed with a rare hint of clarity as he shouted loudly, "Shanglua, who allowed you to come here? Hurry up and leave. Whoever dares to harm Shanglua is an enemy of me and the Shang family. Luoluo, hurry up and leave. Third uncle will help you delay them." "Third uncle, are you not crazy?" Shanglua was pleasantly surprised to see third Master Shang fighting in the sky. However, when he saw his invincible third uncle being suppressed by a strange man in a blood-red robe, he was furious. "Third uncle, I'll lend you this dragon rebel saber." Shanglua didn't have time to settle accounts with Yi Fei, his great enemy. In the blink of an eye, he understood the situation and immediately threw the dragon rebel saber to third Master Shang. In Shanglua's heart, third uncle was the person who loved him the most. Seeing his third uncle being suppressed, Shanglua was very unhappy. Roar! A dragon's roar shook the sky. The dragon rebel saber actually turned into a long dragon in Shanglua's hand and was about to soar into the sky toward third Master Shang. This scene made Yi Fei want to vomit blood. A sacred weapon embryo. Shanglua, this little girl, was actually chasing after him with a sacred weapon embryo. The Shang clan was indeed rich and overbearing. Even this thing could be played with by a first-level martial venerable girl. Oh no, that's the Shang clan's dragon rebel saber. The Shang clan really wants to interfere here. We absolutely can't let that madman get the dragon rebel saber. After recovering from their shock, the martial kings present could no longer remain calm. The mad martial king's strength was already very terrifying. If third Master Shang also obtained the dragon rebel saber, none of the martial kings present would be his match. "All of you, stop right there. Whoever dares to stop me will become my Shang clan's enemy. Even if third uncle can't kill you, my father will definitely hunt you down until you have no path to heaven and no door to hell." Shanglua shouted loudly. Her gentle temperament actually added some inviolable might to it. The martial kings were so frightened that they couldn't help but stop. They didn't have to fear third Master Shang. However, they had no choice but to fear the Shang clan's mighty expert, Wu Jun, who had stepped into the 12th level of the Martial Saint Realm. Above Martial King was the 12th level of the Martial Saint Realm. Those who stepped into the first 10 levels would be titled Wu Jun, ruling over the world. Those who stepped into the 11th level would have the ability to dominate the earth and be called earth-piercing bigwigs. Those who stepped into the 12th level would receive the sacred Tao and be called heavenly connecting sages. The Shang clan's strength was definitely not something that ordinary martial kings dared to provoke. Therefore, hearing Shanglua's shout, the 9 martial kings all couldn't help but stop in fear. "Ha! Little girl, who are you trying to scare? If we were in the Central Continent, I would still be a little wary of your Shang clan. However, this is the barren northern domain. Your Shang clan's name is useless here. I'll capture you and force this madman, third Master Shang, and your Shang clan to stand on the side of my blood demon sect." Only the blood demon incarnation didn't retreat. Instead, he laughed wildly. Others might fear the Shang clan, but the blood demon sect wasn't. This was because the sect master of the blood demon sect was an earth-piercing bigwig, even more powerful than the Shang clan. Instead, it was Shanglua's appearance that made the blood-robed martial king see the great benefits of capturing Shanglua. Instantly, the blood pool where the blood demon incarnation resided and boiled like boiling water. Countless terrifying blood bubbles even emerged from it. Then it transformed into 1,000 bloody hands that struck down Shanglua's dragon rebel saber. Half of the hands grabbed towards Yi Fei, while the other half surrounded Shanglua. The blood demon incarnation's goal was very simple. He wanted to kill Yi Fei and capture Shanglua just like this. Shanglua was stunned. This was the first time she had seen a martial king that even her father's name couldn't suppress. Roar! In the middle of the battle, Third Master Shang suddenly roared like a wild beast. The moment Shanglao was in danger, Third Master Shang, who had temporarily regained his senses, had completely lost his mind. He charged madly towards the blood demon incarnation below, ignoring the blood-robed martial king as he used the bloody hands with a hideous grin, tearing off chunks of flesh from his body. Third Uncle. Shanglua's heart ached as she watched. Despair and regret flashed across her face. She knew that her willfulness and foolishness had harmed Third Master Shang and herself. Thinking that she was about to be imprisoned by the rumored cruel blood demon sect, Shanglao subconsciously hugged her body and trembled slightly. Bam! Suddenly, a figure blocked in front of her. Yifei gritted his teeth and cursed madly in his heart. However, he had to save Shanglao. Otherwise, if anything happened to Shanglao, the completely crazy Third Master Shang would definitely not be a match for the blood-robed martial king. Once Third Master Shang was seriously injured or killed, the blood-robed martial king would be free to kill everyone here, including Yifei. In order to avoid such a tragedy, Yifei helplessly realized that there was no other way except to protect Shanglao with his life, so that Third Master Shang could fight the blood-robed martial king with peace of mind. He stood in front of Shanglao and instantly used the Sky Destroyer Sword. Yifei released the Sky Destroyer Sword and the Sky Destroyer Sword in one breath. The power of the Sky Destroyer Sword successfully caused the blood demon incarnation's bloody hands to pause for a moment. Chapter 377. The seal was broken. All the Martial King experts were shocked by the two swords. After all, those who were able to break through to the Martial King realm were very knowledgeable. They could tell at a glance that the two swords that Yifei had used were not sacred martial arts or royal martial arts. There is only one kind of martial arts that can suppress the heavens and earth: Emperor martial arts. This person actually has Emperor martial arts hidden in his body. Damn it, this rank 6 martial honorable kid. Why can't I compare to him in every aspect? He's just lucky. Even if he has Emperor martial arts, he's definitely not a match for the blood-robed martial king's incarnation. Chen Jie was so angry that his eyes were bloodshot. He was jealous. Dual martial wills, the Phoenix blood sword, and an Emperor martial technique. The combination of these three was enough to crush Chen Jie's inflated ego. Chen Jie was never an open-minded person. He would never allow someone more talented than him to appear. At this moment, Chen Jie could not wait for the blood demon incarnation to kill Yifei immediately. But reality was cruel. It was so cruel that it was like a loud slap on Chen Jie's face. Rumble. A huge sword light formed by the spatial cracks swept out. Even the rank 1 Martial King blood demon incarnation was caught off guard by the superposition of the Phoenix blood sword and Emperor martial arts. In the blink of an eye, the thousands of blood hands are destroyed by the devouring heaven sword. The terrifying sword light, with the power to destroy space, slashed the blood pool that the blood demon was in. Gotcha! Even the blood pool was neatly cut in half by the devouring heaven sword. The blood pool that the blood demon incarnation had transformed into was finally destroyed by Yifei. However, Yifei was not happy at all. Instead, his face became more serious than before. I've changed my mind. I can't kill you. You're the same as this little girl. You're both fat sheep that can make my blood demon sect prosper. If I can capture you both and bring you back to the blood demon sect, it'll be a great achievement. The blood demon incarnation laughed wildly. The blood demon clone was, after all, a first-layer martial emperor realm expert. If it were a 10th-layer martial highness, Yifei would have easily killed him. As for the blood demon incarnation, after breaking free from the suppression of the Heaven's Burial style, it dodged the attack with ease and charged directly at Yifei and Shanglao. Roar! Whoever dares to hurt Luo, Third Master will take your life. All of you will die. I will not allow anyone to hurt Luo or my daughter. I want to kill, I want to fight. The completely crazy Third Master, Shang, charged down from the sky. He ignored the intense pain and the bloody claw on his back from the blood-robed martial king, as well as the flesh that fell off piece by piece. Yi Fei was incomparably shocked by this scene, let alone a little girl like Shang Luo, whose face was already covered in tears. Haha, Shang Clan madman, your opponent is me. In front of me, you don't have the chance to save them. Blood Demon Infinite. The blood-robed martial king laughed wildly as he tore the flesh on Third Master Shang's back into pieces. His terrifying appearance was as if he wanted to tear Third Master Shang's bones and organs to pieces. No matter how crazy Third Master Shang was, he had no choice but to stop and deal with the blood-robed martial king's fatal attacks. Taking advantage of this moment, old Master Chun, who was beside Chun Jie, ordered with a cold expression, "Do it. Capture that kid. He has a big secret on him." If Yi Fei only had the Phoenix Blood Sword, old Master Chen wouldn't have been so impulsive as to risk offending Third Master Shang and the blood-robed martial king to capture Yi Fei. But now it was different. Not only did Yi Fei have the embryo of the sacred artifact, the Phoenix Blood Sword, he also had the great Emperor's martial arts. This was something even more precious than the Emperor's sword. It was already worth the risk for the Chen family. The other 7 martial kings also had the same thoughts. The moment they discovered that Yi Fei had the great Emperor's martial arts, the 9 martial kings all ignored the warning of the blood-robed martial king and attacked Yi Fei at the same time. F***CK, you bunch of martial kings are really despicable. Facing a total of 10 martial kings, even if Yi Fei had 3 heads and 6 arms, he would still be blasted into pieces. The only person he could rely on, Third Master Shang, had gone crazy and could not be relied on. "Yi Fei, what should we do? Hurry up and think of a way for me." Shang Luo was so anxious that she stomped her feet. She did not want to be caught by the Blood Demon sect. The only thing Shang Luo could do was to grab Yi Fei's arm and shake it with all her might. She shook it so hard that Yi Fei almost turned hostile. However, after being forced into a desperate situation, Yi Fei became even calmer. He knew that he didn't even have the chance to resist against the combined forces of 9 martial kings. He made up his mind, and an incomparably crazy idea appeared in his mind. Before the martial kings rushed over, Yi Fei had already turned around. He grabbed the frightened Shang Luo and carried her on his shoulder. Yi Fei's face was cold as he rushed towards the pagoda spirit seal at the top of the mountain. That kid is crazy. Of all the places he could run, he ran towards that terrifying seal. A martial king expert was shocked. He must have been scared silly. In his panic, he didn't know where to go. Let's make things clear first. Yi Fei will belong to whoever catches him. More martial kings had greedy looks on their faces. Ha, that idiot. That's an ancient emperor's seal. Even we don't dare to go near it. Does he want to destroy it? Chen Jie was incomparably delighted. He thought that Yi Fei had already been scared silly. Seeing that the 9 martial kings had ignored his warning and rushed towards Yi Fei, the blood demon incarnation's face turned cold. Unfortunately, his main body still had to deal with the crazy Third Master Shang. The blood demon incarnation alone was no threat to the 9 martial kings. The blood demon incarnation could only keep silent and rush towards Yi Fei as fast as he could. He hoped that he could catch Yi Fei and Shang Luo at the same time. "Bastard, let go of me. What are you doing? Yi Fei, have you lost your mind or are you stupid? How dare you bring me to crash into the seal? I won't let you off even if I become a ghost." Shang Luo started to struggle violently on Yi Fei's shoulder. She felt that it was so embarrassing to be carried by Yi Fei. More importantly, Yi Fei had lost his mind and rushed towards the terrifying seal. Shang Luo was so frightened that she screamed, "Shut up. If you don't want to die, then don't talk." He was kind enough to bring her along to escape, but she was so noisy. Yi Fei finally got angry and slapped Shang Luo. Shang Luo was so angry that her face turned red. She almost vomited blood on the spot. She didn't know if it was a coincidence, but Yi Fei's slap just happened to hit her buttocks. It was especially loud. The pain and fear scared Shang Luo so much that she didn't dare to make any noise. At this time, Yi Fei also rushed towards the huge seal under the gazes of the 9 martial kings and the blood demon incarnation. Behind the seal was the demon sealing tower's pagoda spirit. It was also the place where the Devil Emperor's primordial spirit and the devouring soul sword were suppressed. Damn it, this time I'm really going all out. So what if it's the Devil Emperor's seal? Undying Sword Soul, break this seal for me. Yi Fei carried Shanghua and let out an earth-shaking roar in his heart. His consciousness instantly activated the Undying Sword Soul. A destructive sword shadow suddenly appeared on Yi Fei's body. Of course, in order to hide, Yi Fei didn't dare to fully release the Undying Sword Soul. He had a feeling that once the Undying Sword Soul was fully awakened, it could be an incomparably terrifying disaster. Therefore, Yi Fei only fused a trace of the Undying Sword Soul's aura into the Phoenix Blood Sword. Even so, the Phoenix Blood Sword still emitted an extremely terrifying aura of destruction. Under this aura, even the blood-robed Martial King and the crazy Third Master Shang were affected. A great fear appeared in their hearts. It was as if they were as small as ants under Yi Fei's sword light. Chapter 378. Pagoda Spirit Space. How could this be? 10 martial kings had attacked the Emperor's seal for a month, but were unable to break it. Yet in the hands of Yi Fei, he had torn a large hole in the seal with a single sword strike. Chen Jie was completely dumbfounded when he saw this. Many of the other martial kings also widened their dim eyes in shock. They rubbed their eyes with all their might. This scene had truly impacted their hearts too greatly. Roar, don't even think about escaping. That sword must have a huge secret. It's definitely not a simple sacred artifact embryo. After the fear passed, the blood-robed martial king suddenly abandoned Third Master Shang and chased after Yi Fei's back as he rushed into the seal. His heart was filled with deep regret. The eyes of the other 9 martial kings also lit up. Chen Jie and Old Man Chen's eyes erupted with greed at the same time. Since Yi Fei had used the Phoenix Blood Sword to release the Undying Sword Spirit, these martial kings would never have thought that the one who could truly destroy the seal was actually the Undying Sword Spirit in Yi Fei's body. Instead, they all took it for granted that it was all thanks to the Phoenix Blood Sword. Given that the Phoenix Blood Sword could easily destroy a ruler's seal, how mighty was it? Such a treasured sword is actually in the hands of a 6th-level martial honorable ant. This is truly infuriating. It should have fallen into the hands of a martial king like me to be able to fully unleash its power. Chen Jie's eyes were filled with greed. This time, he was the first to charge towards the cracked seal. Roar! Scram! That brat's things all belong to me. Whoever snatches them from me is going against the Blood Demon sect. The Blood Demon incarnation roared furiously, trying to intimidate these greedy martial kings. What answered him was the mocking laughter of Old Man Shun and the other martial kings. Is the Blood Demon sect that great? Do you really think that there are only 18 countries in the North Sea in the northern region? Wait until your Blood Demon sect can launch a large-scale attack on the northern region before you threaten me. Old Master Chen laughed maniacally. It could be said that he had completely shed all pretense of cordiality with the blood-robed martial king. He even brought Chen Jie with him as he took the lead to charge into the cracked seal. With someone taking the lead, the other martial kings naturally wouldn't be courteous. They all rushed in. After all, not only was the Emperor's sword here, but also Yi Fei's terrifying Phoenix Blood Sword. As long as these martial Emperor experts were able to get their hands on the sword, they would have a chance to reach the 12th layer of the martial sacred realm in the future. Facing such a great temptation, even 10 Blood Demon sects would not scare them away. The Blood Demon incarnation could only roar helplessly. He turned to look at his main body. What he saw made the Blood Demon incarnation so angry that he coughed up blood. Haha, so that's how it is. This young man is indeed someone that I, the Third Master, regard highly. He saved Luoluo, scum of the Blood Demon sect. Today, the Third Master will fight you to the death. Shang Old 3, you're AF * King lunatic. Why do I have to fight a lunatic? The blood-robed martial king felt incomparably regretful. Still, it was already too late. Seeing that Yi Fei had escaped with Shanghua, The third Master Shang, who no longer had any burden on his shoulders, immediately began to fight the blood-robed martial king without any regard for his own life. The blood-robed martial king was so scared that he broke out in cold sweat. He could only pull himself together and continue to waste time with the third Master Shang. Roar! Knowing that he could no longer count on his main body, the blood demon incarnation could only transform into a mass of blood-red light and rush into the broken seal. He planned to capture Yi Fei and Shanglua first. As long as I capture these two, that lunatic Shang Old 3 will definitely not be a match for me. I will also obtain the greatest fortuitous encounter of my life, the Emperor's sword, and that fiery sword with the aura of destruction. If we can get our hands on it, we might even be able to step into the martial saint realm and become emperors. I don't want any treasures. I only want the Emperor's martial arts on that brat. Brothers, please give me some face. I'll be eternally grateful. Ha! As these martial kings rushed in, they were also discussing the division of the spoils of war with each other. Unbeknownst to them, just as they rushed into the seal, suddenly, countless iron chains appeared in the air. They turned into black lights and noiselessly wrapped around the martial kings. Yi Fei and Shanglua, who were the first to rush in, were no exception. After breaking through the seal, he and Shanglua were instantly transported into a strange space of the pagoda spirit. This space was filled with densely packed iron chains. Each iron chain was tied up with a withered corpse. The clothes of these corpses carried a strong, ancient style. These are the constellation robes of the disciples of the constellation sect, an ancient sect. Who would be so cruel to tie them up here and starve them to death? Shanglua covered her mouth and almost vomited when she saw the dried corpses around her. The scene was too disgusting and cruel. She did not see any signs of a battle or torture on these dried corpses wearing the constellation robes. It was as if the disciples of the constellation sect had been tied up by the iron chains without any resistance. After a few years, or even a few decades, they had died of exhaustion. Although a cultivator had a strong vitality and could go months or even a year without eating, if it were a few years or even a few decades, even the strongest cultivator would starve to death due to the loss of energy. This was the case for the disciples of the constellation sect. Asshole, why are you still carrying me? Put me down at once. Shanglua began to make a ruckus after recovering from her disgust. Stop making a ruckus. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have been chased by so many martial kings and almost exposed my biggest secret. The more Yi Fei thought about it, the angrier he got. Women were really troublesome things, especially this kind of spoiled little girl. Yi Fei was so angry that he slapped Shanglua's body again. However, Yi Fei regretted it immediately. He had been so focused on escaping that he did not notice that he had actually carried Shanglua on his back and slapped Shanglua's, but with great precision. Yi Fei was so frightened that he quickly threw Shanglua to the ground. I didn't do it on purpose. Yi Fei was a little embarrassed and wanted to explain. Shanglua was furious. She stared at Yi Fei with a gaze that was enough to kill Yi Fei 1,000,000 times and said, "Do you think I'll believe you? I'll fight it out with you today." Whoosh! Shanglua pulled out the Dragon Rebel saber. Her face was already as red as blood. She looked like she was going to die together with Yi Fei. Yi Fei was speechless. If it weren't for Third Master Shang, he would have had the impulse to grab Shanglua and give her a good spanking. Whoosh! Just as Shanglua was about to go berserk and charge at Yi Fei, countless iron chains suddenly appeared in the pagoda spirit space. They quickly wrapped around Yi Fei and Shanglua at the same time. The most terrifying thing was that these chains were exactly the same as the ones that bound the disciples of the constellation sect. Yi Fei's expression immediately turned serious. Shanglua's feet were tightly bound by an iron chain. It was dragging her back to the nearby wall. Chapter 379. 10,000 Corpses Subduing Soul. Be careful. Although this little girl was somewhat annoying, in the end Yi Fei couldn't just stand by and watch as Shanglua fell into danger. He waved the Phoenix Blood Sword, and with a few kacha sounds, he chopped at the iron chains. The iron chains were undamaged, and after receiving Yi Fei's attack, besides the one that was wrapped around Shanghua, the rest of the iron chains were all wrapped around Yi Fei. Shanghua saw that Yi Fei could even break the Emperor's seal, but he couldn't even cut through a few broken iron chains. Shanghua couldn't help but be angry. Yi Fei, you're deliberately trying to harm me, aren't you? Your sword is so powerful. How can you not cut through these iron chains? As she spoke, Shanghua hurriedly circulated her true essence, wanting to use the Great Void Step to try and escape from these iron chains. Of course, she couldn't succeed. How can this be? My true essence has disappeared. What kind of iron chains are these? They're actually absorbing my true essence. Oh no, I'm going to die. I'm the beautiful fairy Luo. I don't want to starve to death here. After discovering the strangeness of these iron chains, Shanghua finally understood how the dried corpses in the pagoda spirit space were formed. Shanghua was so scared that tears began to flow down her face. Yi Fei, hurry up and think of a way. You're the one who caused me to be like this. If I die, I'll haunt you and annoy you to death. Shut up for me. Yi Fei was already very depressed from being bound by the iron chains, and now there was a little girl beside him who was constantly pulling at him. Yi Fei's heart was suddenly filled with anger. Seeing Shanghua lying on the ground, he decided to slap her. Ha! Because he was in a rage, Yi Fei accidentally used his full strength in this slap. He even drew upon a large amount of true essence in his body. This gave Yi Fei a fright. Wasn't he bound by the iron chains and unable to use his true essence? How could he still use his true essence? Could it be that these iron chains were ineffective against the true essence of the Devil Emperor scripture? Suddenly, Yi Fei remembered that in the Devil's Sealing Pagoda, the Devil Emperor had repeatedly warned him that he must cultivate the Devil Emperor's scripture to the 3rd level before he could enter the Devil Sealing Pagoda. Back then, Yi Fei had found it somewhat strange, but now it seemed that the older, the wiser. These strange chains seemed to be ineffective against the 3rd layer of the Demon Imperial Sutra. Then, Yi Fei's expression changed. Not good. Shang Luo doesn't have any true essence to protect his body. If I slap her with true essence, she will definitely be severely injured. Realizing this, Yi Fei hurriedly dispersed the true essence that he had unintentionally released from his palm. However, even though the true essence had been dispersed, Yi Fei's palm still hit Shanglua's body due to inertia. Fortunately, he had dispersed most of his strength in time. This slap did not hurt Shanghua. Instead, it was as if his palm was gently caressing Shanghua, feeling the softness and elasticity of her body. Even though Yi Fei had lived 2 lives and was thick-skinned, he could not help but blush in embarrassment. Shanglua's eyes were wide open as she stared in disbelief at Yi Fei's hand that was still on her body. However, before she could say anything, the iron chains around her suddenly tightened and pulled her to the wall. She would become a dried corpse like the Constellation sect disciples. Be careful! Yi Fei did not have time to explain. If Shanglua was dragged to the wall, she would be finished. After that, 3rd Master Shang, the crazy martial king, would definitely come after him. With a loud roar, Yi Fei instantly activated the Devil Scripture. Indeed, other than the fact that he could not use his martial arts, his Devil Scripture could operate normally. The golden body of the battle mage was also not affected at all. Yi Fei could easily use it. His entire body emitted a dazzling golden light. Yi Fei was like an enraged war demon. The muscles all over his body exploded, and the iron chains that were originally wrapped around his body were all broken. Then, he strode forward and used his brute force to drag Shanglua's iron chains from the wall. They were twisted into pieces like fry dough twists. Strangely, these broken iron chains immediately turned into black smoke and floated back into the wall. Very quickly, they formed a new iron chain and stretched out with a clatter, once again wrapping around Shanglua. Yi Fei, how do you still have Vidal Yuan? Shanglua looked at Yi Fei in disbelief. After being entangled by the iron chains, she realized that these iron chains were a special restriction in the pagoda spirit space. Anyone who was entangled by them would immediately lose their vital yuan and become like an ordinary person. Therefore, people like Yi Fei, who could ignore the restriction in the pagoda spirit space and still use their vital yuan, were extremely terrifying. Shanglua immediately ignored Yi Fei's shameless groping. Seeing the iron chains wrap around her again, Shanglua screamed and quickly ran to Yi Fei's side. She grabbed Yi Fei's arm and refused to let go. She even shook it with all her might. "Run, Yi Fei. Take me with you. Let's run quickly. Otherwise, I won't let you off even if I become a ghost." Shanglua was really frightened this time. Yi Fei was also speechless after being shaken. This little girl clearly forgot the pain after the scar healed. She didn't learn from her mistakes. Unfortunately, he had made a mistake. Yi Fei couldn't continue hitting Shanglua. He could only pick up Shanglua again. Taking advantage of the fact that the iron chains hadn't wrapped around him, he continued to rush into the pagoda spirit space. "Yi Fei, bastard, let go of me. I don't want to run for my life like this." This was already the second time that Yi Fei had carried Shanglua like a sandbag and ran. Such an inelegant escape posture made Shanglua so angry that she wanted to vomit blood. "Roar, you two, stop right there. If you get entangled by those iron chains, even I won't be able to save you." At this moment, the blood demon incarnation rushed in. When he saw the crazily waving iron chains in the pagoda spirit space, even though he was the blood-robed martial king's incarnation, he was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. It's actually the most vicious array from ancient times, the 10,000 corpses soul-suppressing array. What exactly is being suppressed here that even an ancient emperor had to use such a terrifying array to suppress it? Ha ha, who cares what it's suppressing? We are all martial kings. Why should we be afraid of a mere array? That's right. After thousands of years of suppression, even if there was an emperor inside, he would probably be suppressed to death. That emperor's sword will definitely be ours. But what's going on with that kid? Why do those chains seem to be ineffective against him? He can actually use martial arts. Chun Jie, who came in later, was very shocked when he saw Yi Fei ignoring the surrounding iron chains and running quickly in the pagoda spirit space. The eyes of the blood demon incarnation and the other martial kings flashed with greed. He can even ignore the 10,000 corpses soul-suppressing array. This kid must have a heaven-shaking secret treasure on him. Whoever catches him will have the treasure on him. The 10 martial kings roared at the same time, although they were also suppressed by the pagoda spirit space and couldn't use martial arts. Those who could become martial kings weren't weak. Their physical bodies were also incomparably strong. The 10 of them combined could still avoid the entanglement of the chains. It was just that they weren't as relaxed as Yi Fei. Chapter 380. Spirit Devouring Sword. There was no response from the pagoda spirit space. Yi Fei also did not sense any aura from the Spirit Devouring Sword. If not for the fact that he had indeed sensed the Spirit Devouring Sword's call back at the Sea of Constellations, Yi Fei would have been depressed to death. Could it be that the Demon Emperor was suppressed and fell into a deep slumber after sending out the message? Yi Fei thought back to the time when he first entered the Demon Ceiling Pagoda. The Demon Emperor's condition was extremely bad. Not only was his body suppressed, even his condensed wisp of consciousness did not possess any offensive power. Furthermore, after helping Yi Fei completely refine the divine flames from beyond the heavens, the Demon Emperor's consciousness could no longer hold on and collapsed. If the Demon Emperor's body that was suppressed in the Demon Ceiling Pagoda was already in such a miserable state, Yi Fei reckoned that the Demon Emperor's primordial spirit that was suppressed in the pagoda spirit space must be in a very bad situation as well. After all, in order to send a message to Yi Fei, the Spirit Devouring Sword had attempted to break through the restrictions of the pagoda spirit space a month ago. In the end, according to the 10th Prince and Shifeng's memories, the Spirit Devouring Sword was still suppressed. Countless chains appeared from the pagoda spirit space and forcefully bound it, then dragged it back. Yi Fei began to worry in his heart. He could not allow anything to happen to the Demon Emperor. There were still 10 Martial King experts behind him. Any one of them could crush Yi Fei to death 10 times over. If he did not wish to die, the Demon Emperor and the spirit-devouring sword were Yi Fei's only hope. However, the passageway in the pagoda spirit space was simply too long. Yi Fei had been running for several hours with Shanglua on his back, but he still hadn't made it out of the long passageway. Not to mention, there were still a large number of chains that wrapped around Yi Fei like tentacles in an attempt to prevent Yi Fei from moving forward. Even Yi Fei, who possessed the battle demon golden body, found it extremely difficult to move through the pagoda spirit space, not to mention those martial king experts. After all, these martial kings did not have the powerful war demon physique like Yi Fei, who could ignore the attacks of the chains. Every time they were hit by the chains, even if they were not immediately dragged away and turned into dried corpses like the Constellation sect disciples on the wall, a portion of the vital energy in their bodies would still be taken away. Many martial kings were already panting from exhaustion as they chased after Yi Fei. However, none of them were willing to give up the chase. All of them used all the methods they had in their lives to continue the chase. Hold on a little longer. As long as we pass through this 10,000 corpses soul-suppressing formation, that kid and the Emperor's sword will belong to us. The 10 martial kings cheered each other on and continued to advance with high morale. However, Yi Fei, who was at the very front, was getting increasingly impatient. This was especially true when he saw that the dried corpses on the walls were no longer disciples of the Constellation sect. Instead, they were elders of the Constellation sect. Those who could become elders of the ancient sects were not ordinary people. In fact, all of them were martial kings. However, they still could not escape the fate of becoming dried corpses. As they continued to advance, Yi Fei saw several hundred dried corpses of Wu Jun's level wrapped around the walls, forming the power to suppress the Demon Emperor. Yi Fei's hair stood on end. If I don't save the Demon Emperor this time, I won't become a dried corpse like this, right? Subconsciously, Yi Fei gave Shang Luo, who was on his shoulder, another slap. This was purely out of habit, subconscious action. After slapping her, Yi Fei felt a little regretful. The strange thing was that after being slapped, Shanglua did not make a fuss. She only lay on Yi Fei's shoulder. Yi Fei rolled his eyes helplessly. Could it be that this eldest miss was finally afraid of being slapped and did not dare to make a fuss? Of course not. In fact, Shanglua, who had her head lowered, was gnashing her teeth. At the same time, she secretly remembered the number of times Yi Fei had slapped her. Despicable Yi Fei, I'll remember it. You've slapped me 3 times. I need you now. I won't argue with you. When I get out and find third uncle, I'll settle all the scores with you. Shanglua roared angrily in her heart. Unfortunately, Yi Fei did not realize that Shanglua did not react after slapping this eldest miss once. Yi Fei thought that he had finally subdued this little girl and made her obedient. Indeed, without the noise of Shanglua beside him, Yi Fei felt that his ears were clear and he felt refreshed. He even ran more energetically. As a result, Yi Fei carried Shanglua and ran even faster. A large number of iron chains extended from the surrounding darkness and wrapped around Yi Fei in an attempt to stop Yi Fei's movements. The deeper they went, the more iron chains there were. However, Yi Fei was not afraid. The Demon Emperor had taught Yi Fei the Demon Emperor Sutra because he knew that Yi Fei could be trapped by these iron chains. The battle demon golden body was indeed very effective against these iron chains. As Yi Fei ran wildly, he stretched out his golden palm and slapped away all the iron chains in front of him like weeds. Yi Fei continued running like this for several hours. Just as Yi Fei was panting and felt that even with the battle demon golden body, he would not be able to endure it any longer. Finally, a ray of light appeared in the distance. It was no longer this pitch-black corridor. Yi Fei excitedly slapped Shanglua again and rushed towards the light as fast as he could. This is already the 4th time. Shanghua could not bear it any longer. She felt that Yifei was clearly too used to it and could not stop. When Yifei rushed to the light and realized that the strange chains were gone, Shanghua immediately struggled violently. Yifei, are you addicted to taking advantage of me? Put me down. F***CK. Yifei thought that Shanghua had been beaten into obedience. How long had it been? She had actually revealed her true nature again. You still have a nerve to call yourself Luo Xinzi? I really don't know what kind of taste those young talents have. What did you say? Shanglua's face was cold and her aura frosty. The dragon rebel saber was already in her hand again. Yifei realized that after passing through the corridor, the pagoda's spirit suppression of Shanglua's vital energy had also been lifted. Yifei immediately shut his mouth. He did not look at Shanghua. He looked up at the shattered space in front of him. This should be the pagoda spirit's internal space. Unfortunately, it had been shattered and there were traces of battle everywhere. There were terrifying sword scars and majestic dragon claw marks. The most terrifying thing was that at the end of the shattered space, Yifei saw a huge dragon head stuck in the spatial crack. It had been dead for who knew how many years. Dragon. That's a real mystical dragon. And it was killed. Shanghua almost screamed in shock. She quickly covered her mouth. That crack must have been caused by the demonic emperor's sky-swallowing move. Even a mystical dragon can be killed. The demonic emperor's strength is truly terrifying. Yifei also retracted his gaze in shock. Then he could not help but look at the end of the white light. There was a black, demonic sword the size of a mountain stuck in the ground. Around the sword were silver chains covered in runes. These chains were constantly absorbing the demonic chi emitted by the demonic sword. However, the demonic chi seemed endless. Despite the silver chains absorbing it for thousands of years, they could not be completely absorbed. This is the real spirit devouring sword. The demonic emperor's sword? Yifei clicked his tongue in shock. He could not associate this demonic sword with the spirit-devouring sword that he had once used. Chapter 381. The Battle of the 10 Kings. That's right. This is my devouring spirit sword. Brat, your talent is so trash, and your cultivation base is so low, but you're still able to cultivate my strongest technique, the Devil Emperor Sutra. How unexpected. As if sensing Yifei's true Yuan aura, a huge black hole appeared within the devouring spirit sword. Then, a translucent man with an aura as vast as a galaxy walked out and coldly looked at Yifei. This Devil Emperor was different from the one in the Devil Ceiling Tower. This was the image of a middle-aged Devil Emperor. Most likely, this was the Devil Emperor at his peak. Of course, although the Devil Emperor's appearance had changed, his character and temper were still the same. He immediately looked down on Yifei's talent and cultivation base. In any case, he found Yifei displeasing to the eye. Yifei was also speechless. From the Devil Emperor's words, he could tell that this Devil Emperor's Yuan spirit didn't recognize him at all. Brat, I'm talking to you. Are you my grand disciple? If your talent is trash, then so be it. But you can't even greet your ancestral master? What did your master teach you? As expected, the Devil Emperor's Yuan spirit didn't remember Yifei. Seeing Yifei not greet him, he was even more displeased. Yifei was even more depressed. But then he thought about how this was just the Devil Emperor's Yuan spirit and not his true self. Yifei was relieved. Devil Emperor, it seems your Yuan spirit doesn't have my memories. In truth, you're my master. It was your main body who accepted me as a disciple and sent me here to save you. Yifei helplessly recounted what had happened in the Devil Ceiling Tower. While Yifei was speaking, Shanghua had been listening attentively. When he heard that Yifei, with his trash talent, had been able to become a disciple of a king, Shanghua was very depressed. If Yifei had the support of the king, he would be able to walk around the martial heaven continent in the future. At that time, how would she, the eldest daughter of Shanghua, find Yifei and settle her old scores? After hearing Yifei's description of the Demon King, she was even more shocked. What? You're actually this emperor's disciple? Could it be that this emperor has been sealed for too long and has become senile? I can't even keep my integrity in my late years and accept such a worthless disciple. The devil emperor revealed a regretful expression. With his cultivation base, he could tell with a single glance that Yi Fei's Dantian was only 10th grade Earth ranked. Such talent was extremely powerful in the northern region. However, in the eyes of a martial king like the Demon King, such talent couldn't be any more trash. He had come to save his master out of kindness, but the Demon King had given him the cold shoulder. Yi Fei's expression immediately darkened. He said unhappily, "Old fellow, do you still want me to save you? You traitorous disciple, you're infuriating this emperor to death." The Demon King was infuriated by Yi Fei's words. He was just as helpless as the Demon King's main body in the Devil Sealing Tower. Right now, Yi Fei was the only hope for the Demon King's Yuan spirit to escape. After all, they were master and disciple. Even if the Yuan spirit didn't have Yi Fei's memories, the Demon King still knew. Since his main body had accepted Yi Fei, it was obvious that Yi Fei had some redeeming qualities. The Demon King could only hold back his anger and make a long story short. He coughed and said, "My disciple, it's very easy to save this emperor. Do you see the devouring soul sword? As long as you pull it out, this emperor will be free from the suppression of this space." When Yi Fei saw the devouring soul sword, which was as tall as a mountain, he almost vomited blood. He pointed at the devouring soul sword gloomily and said, "Old fellow, are you muddle-headed? How can a small person like me pull out such a big sword?" Yi Fei felt that the Demon King's Yuan spirit was too deceitful. The Demon King also felt that this disciple was too much of a scoundrel. How could his main body be so blind as to accept such a disciple? "Kid, don't be so ungrateful. Although this emperor is trapped, I can sense that 10 Martial King experts are breaking through the restriction and rushing over here. They are probably after my devouring soul sword. If you can't pull out, not only will I be finished, but these Martial Kings will also not let a junior like you off." The Demon King saw that the soft approach didn't work, so he decided to use the hard approach. "Demon King, you win." Yi Fei understood that the 10 Martial Kings weren't just after the devouring soul sword. They were also after him. If not for the Demon King's help, he and Shanglo wouldn't even be able to compare to a Martial King's finger. Yi Fei didn't say anything else. He immediately soared into the air, grabbed Shangluo, and rushed towards the ridiculously huge devouring soul sword. "Yi Fei, let go. If you want to pull out the sword, just pull it out. Why do you have to drag me along?" Shangluo was very unwilling. She was completely innocent and had only been implicated by Yi Fei. "Shut up. If you want to stay here and be captured by those Martial Kings, I can put you down." Yi Fei pretended to put Shangluo down. Shangluo was so scared that her face turned pale. If she fell into the hands of the Blood Demon sect, she would be better off dead. Shangluo immediately stopped resisting. Her hands tightened around Yi Fei's neck. She would rather die than let Yi Fei throw her down. "Humph, I'm relying on you today. Don't even think about throwing me down," Shangluo said as she tightened her grip around Yi Fei's neck. Even with the battle demon golden body, Yi Fei felt like he couldn't breathe. "Kid, whether or not I can escape depends on you. Remember, you only have 2 hours to break the seal and pull out the devouring soul sword. After 2 hours, you and I, master and disciple, will meet for the last time in our lives." The Demon Emperor sighed. His eyes suddenly became incomparably sharp. He stared coldly at the pitch-black corridor in the distance and said, "A bunch of scoundrels. How dare you chase after my disciple? If you don't want to anger me, get out of the Pagoda Spirit's space immediately." The Demon Emperor's anger was terrifying. The entire Pagoda Spirit's space trembled violently. The few Martial Kings who had already passed through the corridor and were about to rush and were so scared that they didn't dare to move. A Martial Emperor? How is this possible? This place has been sealed for thousands of years. How can it not kill this Demon Emperor? Ha ha, don't be nervous. If it was a real Demon Emperor, we would have died long ago. How could he talk to us? I think that this is just a trace of the Demon Emperor's primordial spirit left behind to protect the Demon Emperor's sword. The one who spoke was the Blood Demon incarnation. This incarnation's original body was a 10th-layer martial king protector of the Blood Demon sect. The Blood Demon sect was very powerful in the central region and was not much weaker than the Shan clan. This was also the reason why the other martial kings were afraid of the Blood Demon incarnation, even though he was only a first-layer martial king. The blood-robed martial king is right. Everyone, even if he is an Emperor realm expert, after thousands of years, he should have reached the point of exhaustion. With so many of us working together, could it be that we can't kill the remnant soul of an Emperor realm expert? Old Man Chin stood out, a sinister light flashing in his eyes. The other martial kings looked at each other, and then looked at the divine dragon's head stuck in the spatial crack in the pagoda spirit space, and the huge demonic sword that was as big as a mountain. Their eyes instantly turned blood red. TSK, TSK, as expected of an ancient demon emperor. Not only was there a legendary divine dragon slain, but the demon emperor's sword is also extraordinary. A martial king revealed a greedy expression. Anything in front of them was a priceless treasure. If they could obtain one, it was very likely that they would transcend mortality and enter the martial saint realm. No one was willing to give up this opportunity. Of course, there were also sober martial kings who understood that with their own strength, they couldn't compete with the blood-robed martial king and the two martial kings of the Qin family. Thus, they immediately targeted Yi Fei and Shanghua, who were already rushing towards the demon emperor's sword. An old second-layer martial king said in a deep voice, "This old man doesn't want the demon emperor's sword or the divine dragon's head. This old man only wants the phoenix blood sword on that kid's body." "Ah, old monster Lu, you have sharp eyes. That sword is a divine weapon that can even break the seal of an ancient demon emperor. Since you have taken a fancy to it, then the old and decrepit wants the emperor's martial arts on that kid." Chapter 382. Super battle. Before the battle even began, the martial kings were already discussing how to split the spoils of war, as if they had the demon king in the bag. The demon emperor was only an incomplete primordial spirit that had been suppressed for thousands of years. He was already at the end of his tether. If the demon emperor's true body was here, no matter how weak he was, these puny martial kings would not have the guts to act presumptuously in front of the demon emperor. "All right, I can agree to all of your conditions. Other than the blood bodhi on that kid, I must take it back. You can have a rest." The blood demon incarnation was a little annoyed. However, his real body was still dealing with the desperate third master Shang outside, with only his incarnation. He was still no match for these martial kings. The blood-robed martial king was very cunning and temporarily took a step back. He planned to wait for his real body to deal with third master Shang before coming back to fight for the treasure. Old Master Chun and the other martial kings were not easy to deal with. Hearing the blood demon incarnation's words, they sneered but did not say anything. Destroying the demon king's primordial spirit was more important. Once the demon king's primordial spirit was destroyed, the spirit-devouring sword would become an ownerless item. At that time, it would not be too late for everyone to fight for it. "Let's kill our way in." Old Master Chun led a total of 10 martial kings into the pagoda's spirit space with greedy eyes. They also saw Yi Fei rushing towards the spirit-devouring sword. Chun Jie sneered and attacked Yi Fei with disdain. "You're just a level 6 martial honorable trash. How dare you fight with us martial kings for the treasure? Today, I'll send you to hell." Whoosh! As he spoke, a cold light turned into a meteor and quickly smashed towards Yi Fei. Even though they were hundreds of meters apart, Yi Fei could feel the terrifying pressure on his back. There was no other way. The strength of a martial king was too strong. Unless Yi Fei was willing to reveal his undying sword soul again, he was no match for Chun Jie. However, seeing the demon king standing at the side, Yi Fei decided that he would not reveal the biggest secret in his body until the last moment. A mere first-layer martial emperor dares to injure my disciple. Fine, since you are courting death, I shall grant your wish. Devour the heavens. The Devil Emperor's Yuan spirit was enraged. He opened his palm, and a huge black hole appeared. It quickly devoured Chun Jie's true essence meteor. Chun Jie's face turned pale when he saw the Demon Emperor destroying his attack with a casual strike. After all, he was only a first-layer martial emperor. How could he withstand the Demon Emperor's power? "Grandpa, save me." Chun Jie hurriedly asked old Master Chun for help. "Haha, I'm Chun Xiaofeng, and I'm here to experience senior skills. Kill. Explosive storm kill." Old Master Chun condensed his aura and turned into an extremely explosive hurricane, crashing into the Devil Emperor's black hole space. The other martial kings did not make a move at this time. Instead, their eyes were fixed on Old Man Chun and the Devil Emperor's helper. At the same time, Old Man Chun was also the second expert besides the blood-robed martial king outside. His cultivation of the 8th martial king realm made him the best candidate to test the Devil Emperor. Rumble. The aura of an 8th martial king expert was extremely shocking. The entire pagoda spirit space seemed like it was going to be torn apart by the hurricane. The black hole space was also violently compressed, shrinking continuously. It was like a black flame that was about to be destroyed at any time by the hurricane. Humph! 8th martial king realm. When I'm at my peak, killing you is like killing an ant. The Devil Emperor's face turned ugly. If he was not a remnant soul, an 8th martial king would not be worth his time. Haha, it's a pity that senior has been suppressed for thousands of years. Now, let this junior send you on your last journey. Old Master Chun laughed wildly. The explosive hurricane finally tore the Devil Emperor's black hole space into pieces. Kill Hurricane Claw. Kill the Devil Emperor, and my Chun clan will be famous throughout the Tianwu continent. Seeing that the Devil Emperor was indeed in a weakened state, Old Master Chun immediately had a strong, murderous intent. His battle intent burst out. As he shattered the black hole space, another hurricane formed a giant claw and pushed it toward the Devil Emperor. The Devil Emperor did not dodge. His serious expression suddenly relaxed. He casually pointed at the black hole space and gathered it in his palm, forming a huge spatial crack. Heaven-devouring sword. Boom! The sword intent was shocking. The Devil Emperor's heaven-devouring stance was at least 100 times more terrifying than Yi Fei's. Wherever the sword light passed, the space would be devoured, turning into countless fragments. Not to mention the hurricane claw. It was so shattered that not even its shadow could be seen. You're just an 8th martial king, old man. I'll kill you like a dog. Poof! Following the Devil Emperor's words, the space cracked open and a miserable figure escaped from it. This person was none other than Old Master Chun. The Devil Emperor's sword had almost killed him. Looking at the Devil Emperor, Old Master Chun's eyes were filled with deep fear. As expected of a martial king expert. Senior, your strength has amazed us. Unfortunately, how many times can you use such a move? Everyone, let's attack together. This remnant soul is at its limit. If we 10 martial kings work together, we'll definitely be able to kill it. That's right. Once we kill this remnant soul, all the treasures in the pagoda spirit space will be ours. Haha. After killing the martial king, our names will spread throughout the Tianwu continent. We'll create a legend. Kill. 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 The Devil Emperor's sword technique had shocked all the martial kings, but at the same time, it also revealed that the Devil Emperor was in a weakened state. The spectating martial kings all sneered and turned into 8 different colored lights that charged toward the Devil Emperor. That's right. Today is the day that we 10 martial kings kill the Devil Emperor. Yeah, or what are you waiting for? Don't give this opportunity to others. Whoever kills the Devil Emperor will have the greatest hope of obtaining the Devil Emperor's sword. Old Master Chun laughed sinisterly. He ignored his injuries and charged at the Devil Emperor with Chun Jie. The 10 martial kings all wanted to kill the Devil Emperor as soon as possible. The battle between the 10 martial kings immediately erupted. The space where the Devil Emperor stood shattered layer after layer. Even his Yuan spirit was affected, flickering indeterminately. However, the Devil Emperor didn't retreat. He just stood there with a grave expression. He raised his sword and slashed out again and again. The 10 martial kings were like dumplings being dropped into a pot. They were forced to retreat miserably by the Devil Emperor's sword. Many of them had suffered heavy injuries, but none of them retreated. They could sense that the Devil Emperor's sword light was slowly weakening. Now, they had to force the Devil Emperor to attack again and again. As long as they continued to exhaust the Devil Emperor's Yuan spirit, even if they were all heavily injured in the end, it would still be the Devil Emperor who would be exhausted to death. These martial kings are too despicable. Yi Fei, is your martial king master really capable? If he dies, it'll be our turn next. Shanglua was filled with terror when she saw the Devil Emperor being surrounded. She could only tighten her grip around Yi Fei's neck and squeeze her body against Yi Fei's body. It was like that was the only way to feel safer. Chapter 383. Unsolvable sword wall helplessly. Shanglua's grip was too tight. Yi Fei could do nothing but continue to charge towards the top of the spirit-devouring sword. Stop him. Don't let that brat reach the top of the sword mountain. There were also some martial kings who noticed Yi Fei's actions. Even if they didn't know what Yi Fei wanted to do, they still felt a sense of unease from his actions. When they discovered that the Demon Emperor's remnant soul was extremely weak, a martial king took the opportunity to get past the Demon Emperor and attack Yi Fei. This caused Shanglua to shout, "Not good! A martial king expert is flying over. Yi Fei, you have to fly faster." Yi Fei felt very depressed. He wanted to fly faster, but the spirit-devouring sword's sword mountain increased the pressure he felt the higher he went. If not for the war demon's golden body, it would have been difficult for him to even charge up. In the end, the spirit-devouring sword was an emperor's sword. Such a weapon was even more terrifying than a sage weapon. It also had a natural emperor's might. It was this might that made it extremely difficult for Yi Fei to charge up. "Brat, get down here, and this old man will spare your lives." Rumble. Just as Yi Fei was charging up with great difficulty, a terrifying gaze locked onto Yi Fei from afar. The crescent-shaped saber, Qi, turned into an inverted waterfall and chopped down at Yi Fei at an extremely fast speed. If Yi Fei didn't want to die, he could only stop and let the saber Qi knock him down. However, Yi Fei's reaction exceeded the old man's expectations. He didn't even look at the saber Qi coming at him from behind and continued climbing. The Demon Emperor also looked at Yi Fei with admiration. This brat is not bad. It seems that this Demon Emperor didn't lose out by taking him in as a disciple. A cold expression flashed across the Demon Emperor's face. He realized that he couldn't stop all 10 martial kings. Suddenly, 10 terrifying black holes appeared in his primordial spirit. 10 suns devouring the heavens. Boom, boom, boom. The 10 black holes were like 10 black suns, mysterious, dazzling, shattering, and absorbing everything. Once again, the 10 martial emperors were forced to retreat in embarrassment. Even their attacks were completely devoured, causing them to lose their last chance to stop Yi Fei. Yi Fei also took the opportunity to use the last of his strength to rush to the top of the sword mountain. Here, Yi Fei saw a very shocking scene. A huge sword wall took up 2/3 of the mountain. Behind the sword wall, there was an illusory sword shadow that was sealed inside. Yi Fei knew that the sword shadow should be the sword spirit of the spirit-devouring sword, which was also where the Devil Emperor's primordial spirit resided. In order to pull out the spirit-devouring sword and help the Devil Emperor recover his strength, Yi Fei had to think of a way to break the sword wall and free the sword spirit inside first. Shanglua, let's attack this sword wall together, Yi Fei suggested to Shanglua, who was still clinging to him like a sticky candy. Do I know you that well? This is your problem. Why should I help you? Shanglua tried to strangle Yi Fei for a long time, but failed to cause any damage to his war demon golden body. She could only give up the idea of strangling Yi Fei and walk to the side angrily. She actually planned to stand by and watch. Yi Fei was so angry that he wanted to grab Shanghua and beat her up again. Then he thought about it and realized that he needed help now. Yi Fei quickly changed his words. You really don't want to help? The Devil Emperor has the long-lost ageless elixir. Don't you want it? What? Ageless elixir? Yi Fei, you're really despicable. Why didn't you say so earlier? Shanglua's eyes lit up when she heard about the ageless elixir. She raised the dragon rebel saber and slashed at the sword wall in front of her. Roar! What was terrifying was that when the dragon rebel saber slashed at the sword wall, it actually bounced back, forming a dragon-shaped saber shadow identical to Shanglua's attack. It slashed back at Shanglua. Shanglua jumped in fright. She quickly hid behind Yi Fei and kicked Yi Fei fiercely. Yi Fei, you bastard. You actually dared to trick me into testing the sword wall for you. Yi Fei's face darkened. Shanglua was clearly the one being impulsive. How dare she blame me? But through Shanglua's probing, Yi Fei discovered how terrifying the seal on the sword wall was. It could actually reflect the opponent's attack. Bang! Yi Fei hurriedly used the Phoenix Blood Sword to shatter the reflected Dragon Rebel Saber Chi. At the same time, he quickly stabbed at the sword wall with his sword. As expected, the sword wall immediately bounced back with an attack identical to Yi Fei's. Yi Fei couldn't help but vomit blood and retreat. It was equivalent to Yi Fei attacking himself. This sword wall is so terrifying. It seems to be able to reflect our attacks. If we attack it, we'll be attacking ourselves. Shanglua looked at the sword wall in horror. She was smart enough to see that Yi Fei had to destroy the sword wall if he wanted to save the Demon King. The emperor who created the sword wall was undoubtedly very cunning. He purposely created a seal that reflected attacks. This way, no matter who tried to save the Demon King, they would end up attacking themselves. Any normal person would immediately stop and give up on saving the Demon King if they didn't want to be killed by themselves. However, whether it was the emperor who created the sword wall or Shanglua, they had underestimated Yi Fei's persistence. So what if it reflects my attacks? The Demon King is my master. He taught me the Demon King's Sutra and saved my lifetime and time again. I don't believe that I can't break this sword wall. Clang, clang, clang. Yi Fei brandished the Phoenix Blood Sword. The whistling sword chi struck the sword wall again and again. His body was also hit by the sword chi. The battle demon golden body couldn't withstand it, and countless cracks appeared on it. This scene shocked Shang Luo, and he felt a little ashamed. Yi Fei knew that he was going to die, but he still dared to attack the sword wall. Not to mention whether it was worth it or not. Just Yi Fei's courage was enough to move Shang Luo. At the same time, the fierce battle between the 10 martial kings and the Demon King reminded Shanglua that once the Demon King was defeated, the 10 martial kings who were blinded by greed would never let her go. Shanglua suddenly made up her mind. She rushed up with the Dragon Rebel saber and said, Yi Fei, let me help you. Roar. Shanglua raised the Dragon Rebel saber and cooperated with Yi Fei's Phoenix Blood Sword to attack the sword wall. This made Yi Fei's eyes light up. One person's attack might be reflected, but what about 2 people? What would happen? Yi Fei immediately slowed down his attack and waited for Shanglua to attack. He stabbed the sword and the saber at the same time. Boom! The sword wall shook violently and reflected Yi Fei's and Shanglua's attacks. Moreover, Shanglua's attack was reflected back to Yi Fei, and Yi Fei's attack was reflected back to Shanglua, creating a cross-reflected damage. Boom! After being attacked by Yi Fei, Shanglua could no longer maintain her image as a beautiful girl. She was forced to turn back into a little girl with a flushed face. She lay on the ground in an indecent manner and stared at Yi Fei furiously. On the other hand, Yi Fei was completely unharmed after being attacked by Shanglua. The third layer of the battle demon golden body helped him perfectly offset Shanglua's attack. Shanglua had the urge to strangle Yi Fei. Chapter 384. Cramming at the last minute, Yi Fei frowned when he saw the sword wall. The sovereign who had set up the sword wall was too treacherous. A single attack would be reflected by the sword wall. If a group of people attacked, the sword wall could even reflect the other party's attack. If attacking the sword wall alone was like fighting with oneself, then attacking the sword wall together was basically like two sides fighting each other. The purpose of the sovereign who had set up the sword wall was very simple. He wanted to prevent anyone from rescuing the demon emperor. It didn't matter if it was a single person or a group. If anyone tried to break through the sword wall, it would be no different from committing suicide and having internal strife. Rumble. Just as Yi Fei was feeling troubled, the entire pagoda spirit space suddenly shook violently. Then, a shocking explosion occurred. Yi Fei could not help but turn his head back to look. Then he saw a scene that terrified him. One of the demon monarch's 10 black holes had actually been destroyed by the combined attacks of 10 martial kings. Following the explosion of the black hole spaces, a crack appeared on the demon emperor's primordial spirit. His expression became extremely grave. The 10 great martial kings, however, all laughed wildly. We made the right bet. These 10 black hole spaces are the last of his strength. As long as we destroy these black hole spaces, the sovereign's remnant soul will die for sure. You two brats up there, get down quickly. Otherwise, when I destroy this remnant soul, I'll let you have a taste of my blood demon sex methods. The blood demon incarnation roared. He could sense that Yi Fei was already up there, trying to break the seal. At the same time, the 10 martial kings became anxious. Kill. Let's continue to destroy these damn black hole spaces before that brat destroys the seal. Old Masterchin roared. He was the strongest and had the highest cultivation level here. Naturally, he was the main force attacking the demon emperor. The other martial kings followed suit. Destroying one of the demon emperor's black hole spaces boosted their morale. They all looked like they were going to defeat the demon emperor. The devil king's expression became even more serious, but he didn't retreat. He couldn't. Right now, he could only hope that Yi Fei would be able to think of a way to break through the sword wall. On Sword Mountain, Yi Fei helplessly withdrew his gaze. From the demon emperor's actions, he knew that the demon emperor was truly staking everything on this one throw, placing all his hopes on Yi Fei. While feeling the demon emperor's trust, Yi Fei also felt a deep pressure. He knew that if he didn't save the devil emperor, he might really die here today. Forget it. Compared to being tortured to death by this group of martial kings, I would rather be reflected to death by this sword wall. It's just an emperor's seal. I refuse to believe that I could destroy the emperor's seal outside, so why can't I destroy the seal here? Yi Fei's fighting spirit was completely aroused after he shouted the word daddy 3 times. He didn't believe that there was anything his indestructible sword's soul couldn't destroy. Shanglaw, if I die, please tell the demon emperor to take care of my family. Yi Fei turned to Shanglaw. Knowing that ordinary attacks wouldn't have any effect on this sword wall, Yi Fei steeled his heart and decided to use the destructive power of the indestructible sword soul to destroy the seal. However, Yi Fei couldn't guarantee that the sword wall wouldn't reflect the indestructible sword soul's attack when he destroyed the seal. If that happened, he definitely wouldn't be able to escape. He would definitely be destroyed along with the seal. When Shanglaw heard Yi Fei's words and sensed the faint destructive aura emanating from Yi Fei's body, she suddenly understood what Yi Fei wanted to do. You want to use that destructive sword intent again? Even though I don't know how you did it, I'm sure that once you use that move, there's a 70% chance that you'll be committing suicide. Shanglua's expression was serious. She didn't seem like a little girl at all. Yi Fei smiled bitterly. Of course, he knew that Shanglua was telling the truth. However, after attacking the sword wall twice, Yi Fei could see some tricks. It was this trick that gave Yi Fei the confidence to go all out. However, this confidence required Shanglua's cooperation. Shanglua, don't worry. I won't die so easily. Since I dare to do this, I have a certain level of confidence. Of course, I still need you to teach me the Great Void steps. This way, when we work together, I can survive while destroying the sword wall. Yi Fei said very sincerely. What? You want to die and drag me down with you? Also, you want to use the Shang family's Great Void Steps? Shanglua shook her head vigorously in disagreement. You don't want the ageless elixir anymore? Yi Fei asked suddenly. Shanglua's little face revealed a hesitant and conflicted expression. If the Demon King is still alive, he might be able to cure your third uncle's madness. Yi Fei threw out another bombshell. Shanglua felt that Yi Fei was very sinister and repulsive. Why did he propose such conditions that she couldn't refuse? The resistance in her heart collapsed instantly. Shanglua threw a secret manual at Yi Fei hatefully and said, "Damn it, you said it yourself. If you can't get the ageless elixir and cure my third uncle, I'll whip your corpse 10,000 times even if you die." Yi Fei felt a chill run down his spine when he heard this. When he saw the secret manual Shanglua threw over, Yi Fei didn't stand on ceremony. He secretly used his undying sword soul to increase his comprehension and started to frantically comprehend this super powerful escape technique. Anyway, the Demon King gave me a total of 2 hours. This means that the Demon King can hold off the 10 martial monarchs for at least 2 hours. This bit of time is enough for me to comprehend the basics of the Great Void Steps. Yi Fei focused and frantically comprehended the Great Void Steps as fast as he could. Shanglua looked at Yi Fei strangely. The Shang family's Great Void technique was an emperor-level technique. It was simply impossible for Yi Fei to comprehend it in less than 2 hours. When Shanglua handed the Great Void Steps to Yi Fei, Shanglua felt that her brain was cramping as well. She actually chose to go crazy with Yi Fei. The Demon King, who was in the middle of the battle, was so angry that he almost vomited blood. This scoundrel brat, I risked my life to buy time for him. Instead of thinking of a way to destroy the sword wall, he's actually cultivating on it? When he saw Yi Fei's funny actions, Chen Jie immediately burst into laughter. He spat out a mouthful of saliva and clutched his stomach as he laughed. Ha, I'm dying of laughter. Is there something wrong with that brat's brain? He can't break the sword wall, so he actually went to cultivate some martial technique. He's just an ant. It's better if he doesn't attack the sword wall. It'll be less torture. The blood demon incarnation was also amused. He was full of disdain for Yi Fei's last-minute actions. The other martial monarchs sneered. How could they care about a junior like Yi Fei? If it weren't for the fact that Yi Fei might have a huge secret on him, they wouldn't even bother wasting time on Yi Fei. Chapter 385. The only flaw great. Everyone, work harder and destroy the martial emperor's remnant spirit. Our names will be known throughout Wangu for generations to come. Provoked by the words of old Master Chun and the blood demon incarnation, and seeing Yi Fei practicing martial arts inexplicably, the martial emperors laughed. The martial kings snickered inwardly. They all thought that Yi Fei had run out of tricks and that he was only practicing martial arts now to deal with their pursuit and make it easier for him to escape. In fact, it wasn't just the martial kings who thought so. Even Shang Luo was a little surprised and doubtful when she saw Yi Fei wholeheartedly practicing. Could it be that this guy has really given up? Knowing that he can't save the Demon Emperor, he wants to trick me into using the Greater Void Steps and then escape? Shanglua looked at Yi Fei, unable to figure out Yi Fei's intentions. This brat, what kind of disciple did I take in? I can't even protect my integrity in my old age. Forget it. Today, I will fight you to the death. The Demon Emperor was furious. Following his anger, the 9 black holes released an astonishing devouring power, trying to suck in the martial emperors and tear them to pieces. However, the martial emperors, led by old Master Chun and the blood demon incarnation, were extremely cunning. They could be called old and cunning foxes. Knowing that the 10 martial emperors might not be a match for the Demon Emperor, these martial emperors wisely put aside their prejudices and gathered together. They even targeted one of the Demon Emperor's black holes and attacked with all their might. Even the Demon Emperor did not have a good way to stop all of this. Boom! After fighting for a while, the Demon Emperor's 9th black hole finally reached its limit. The 10 great martial kings who realized this saw an opportunity and rushed forward with all their might to launch their strongest attacks. Kill. This is another consciousness of the Demon Emperor. As long as we continue to work together to destroy this consciousness, the final victory will be ours. Old Master Chen spurted out blood, but his eyes flashed with extreme excitement and coldness. Under his efforts to stop the Demon Emperor, the strongest attacks of the 9 martial kings were all concentrated on the black hole space before the Demon Emperor could withdraw the overloaded black hole space. Rock Burst, Wind Cloud Kick, Extreme Frost Arrow. Take this, Blood Waterfall Chain Slash. Rumble. Unsurprisingly, the 9th black hole of the Demon Emperor shattered on the spot after holding on for a while. Shanglua, who was watching the battle, could even clearly see a second crack on the Demon Emperor's primordial spirit. The Demon Emperor's aura had also weakened significantly. Shanglua immediately became anxious. She knew that once the Demon Emperor was defeated, these greedy martial kings would definitely not let her, the young miss of the Shang family, off. Yifei, you should hurry up. The Demon Emperor is about to be defeated and you're still cultivating there. Don't tell me you're really planning to cheat me of my void steps and then abandon your master and run for your life. Shanglua circled Yifei, chattering nonstop. Yifei was extremely annoyed. When a cultivator was cultivating, it was taboo to disturb them. Furthermore, he was trying to comprehend something at the last minute. Only Yifei could endure it. If it were any other cultivator, Shanglua's annoyance would have caused them to go berserk. Therefore, before Shanglua could appear in front of him again, Yifei decisively made his move. With a slap, Shanglua fell to the ground. Shanglua's eyes widened. How many times had this happened already? Then, with a towering rage, Shanglua had the urge to immediately raise her saber and hack Yifei to death. Boom! Boom! At this moment, 2 loud explosions suddenly came from below. As the Demon Emperor's primordial spirit aura weakened, he was even less able to withstand the combined attacks of the 10 martial kings. Not long after the battle, the Demon Emperor's 8th and 7th black holes were also shattered by the combined attacks of the 10 martial kings. Ha ha ha, we succeeded. This old man can feel that the aura of this remnant spirit has already fallen to Wu Jun's cultivation level. Everyone, work harder and destroy a few more of his wills. When his aura falls to the martial king realm, it will be our time to kill the Demon Emperor. What a joke. That kid called Yifei is actually still practicing martial arts. An ant will always be an ant. He still wants to make people laugh, even when he's about to die. While Chun Jie was attacking the Demon Emperor, he did not forget to mock Yifei. On the mountain peak, Yifei also laughed when he heard Chun Jie's mockery. I originally wanted to spend more time comprehending it. Since you guys are courting death, I'll fulfill your wish. Yifei stood up again, a look of confidence flashing across his face. Could it be that you've already comprehended the void steps? Shanglua was extremely shocked. Yifei had only comprehended it for a short period of time. Could it be that he had already comprehended the emperor-level martial arts in less than an hour? If that was the case, then Yifei's comprehension ability was really terrifying. I haven't completely comprehended it yet, but it shouldn't be a problem for me to use it over a short distance. Shanglua, cooperate with me. This time, we'll join forces to attack again. Yifei said very confidently. Bastard, you just hit me. Why should I join forces with you? Shanglua was not convinced verbally, but she knew in her heart that this might be their last chance. Shanglua did not say another word. She had already brandished the dragon rebel saber and slashed at the sword wall. At the same time, Yifei brandished the phoenix blood sword and stabbed out. As expected, both of their attacks were reflected by the sword wall at the same time. Shanglua panicked. Facing the same result, she did not know how to deal with it. Yifei's eyes lit up. This was the moment he had been waiting for. He had accurately calculated the time of the sword wall's reflection. He had just grasped the basics of the void steps. In an instant, Yifei and Shanglua switched positions. This sudden change immediately caused the sword wall's array formation to become chaotic. After all, according to the array formation's operating rules sealed within the sword wall, when faced with multiple attacks, the sword wall's reflected attacks would be intertwined. This meant that Yi Fei would face Shangluo's attack that was reflected back, while Shangluo would face Yi Fei's attack that was reflected back. Once this kind of reflection pattern did not match the operating rules of the array formation within the seal, a small loophole appeared in this old-fashioned array formation that could only operate according to established rules, just as Yi Fei had expected. This caused the array formation to come to a halt. Although this pause was only a breath's worth of time, a powerful martialist could do a lot of things in a breath's time. This was also the only loophole in the sword wall seal that Yi Fei had discovered after using the undying sword soul to increase his comprehension ability. Upon seeing this loophole, Yi Fei immediately calmed down and added a portion of the undying sword soul's aura to the phoenix blood sword before stabbing at the sword wall again. Chapter 386. 10 Martial Kings killed. Boom, boom, boom. With the destruction of the sword wall, the Demon Emperor's 6th, 5th, and 4th black holes have been shattered by the combined attacks of the 10 Martial Kings. As a result, the Demon Emperor's soul began to flicker. He was basically unable to maintain his form anymore. The Demon Emperor's aura dropped from Wu Jun's realm to that of a 9th-level Martial King. It was extremely dangerous for him to face the combined attacks of 10 powerful Martial Kings. However, the Demon Emperor did not feel any sense of danger. Instead, he laughed loudly. I made the right bet. After being suppressed for 3,000 years, I finally have the chance to break free. Compared to the ecstasy of the Demon Emperor, the faces of the 10 Martial Kings were filled with horror and fury. They stared blankly at the sword wall wind seal that had shattered into flowing light. They were shocked and confused. How could such a powerful and unbreakable emperor's seal be broken by Yi Fei's sword? Why did the sword wall not reflect Yi Fei's attack this time? Could it be that Yi Fei's attack had reached the level of an emperor? Of course not. Everyone present was a martial king. They could sense that although Yi Fei's destructive aura could greatly increase the power of his swordsmanship, it was only at the level of Wu Jun's attack at most. This kind of attack power was obviously not enough to break the seal that had been set up by the ancient emperor. In that case, there was only one way for Yi Fei to break the seal. It turns out that this unbreakable seal is not unbreakable. It also has a flaw. However, it is very difficult to discover this flaw. Bang! Shangluo turned from a little girl to a beautiful young lady. She stared at Yi Fei with her eyes wide open and her red lips slightly agape. This time, she was truly shocked by Yi Fei. In just an hour, he had comprehended the emperor-level martial technique, the Void Steps. Moreover, he had discovered the only flaw of the emperor's seal while comprehending it. It wasn't that Yi Fei didn't have any other geniuses like him. However, those monstrous geniuses all came from powerful ancient clans and were known as monstrous geniuses since they were young. Someone like Yi Fei, who had grown up step by step from the bottom, might not be found even in the central region, which was a place where monsters gathered for hundreds of years, let alone the northern region. Damn it, that ant. He is only a rank 6 martial honorable. How could he have such a high level of comprehension to be able to find the flaw in the sovereign seal? Coincidence. He must have gotten lucky. Chen Jie clenched his fists tightly as he stared at Yi Fei with a sharp gaze. At this moment, Chen Jie's view of Yi Fei had changed from an ant he disdained to a potential opponent that he needed to be careful of. All for naught, all for naught. Now that the seal had been broken, some of the martial kings began to feel fear. The greed in their eyes disappeared, replaced by fear. How could they be a match for a martial emperor without the seal? Sensing the martial king beside him wavering, Grandpa Chen's expression immediately turned incomparably ugly. He roared, "What are you all afraid of? So what if the seal is gone? This martial monarch is merely a remnant spirit. Before he recovers, let's attack together." As long as we kill him, the treasures here will belong to us. That's right. Charge forward with me. Let's work together and kill this remnant soul. The blood demon clone also roared. The two expert standpoints made the wavering martial kings more determined. They could clearly feel that even if the seal was broken, the demonic emperor's aura was only at the rank 9 martial king realm. They still had a chance to kill the demonic emperor and obtain the treasures. Kill. The treasures of the sovereign seal will definitely belong to us. So what if the seal is broken? You are about to be destroyed by us. I don't believe that we can't kill you. With the help of the blood demon clone and the 8th layer martial king Old Man Shun, the martial king's fear of the seal quickly disappeared. Their faces were once again filled with greed. As the saying went, men die for wealth, birds die for food. Blinded by greed, they didn't notice that the blood demon incarnation, Chun Jia, and Old Master Chun had deliberately slowed down their pace when they were charging forward. When they reached the front, they would join forces to face the Devil Emperor again. The three of them laughed coldly and turned around, preparing to flee for their lives. Before Chun Jia left, he turned around and glared at Yi Fei with a vicious gaze. If it weren't for Yi Fei's interference, the 10 martial kings would have killed the demonic emperor and looted all the treasures here. Based on this alone, there was no way he would let Yi Fei go. Yi Fei did not notice Chun Jia's gaze. Seeing that the demonic emperor was about to be besieged again, Yi Fei had already pulled out the soul-devouring sword spirit from the crack in the rock. At the foot of the mountain, the demonic emperor finally stopped laughing. Instead, his eyes were filled with coldness. Ignoring the fact that his body was about to shatter, the demonic emperor coldly spoke. His voice echoed throughout the pagoda spirit space. Sword come. The demonic emperor casually waved his hand at the soul-devouring sword. Yi Fei immediately felt the mountain-like, soul-devouring sword tremble violently. The countless silver chains binding the soul-devouring sword instantly broke apart. A crazy demonic aura was emitted from the soul-devouring sword. Yi Fei and Shanglua were pushed into the air by the terrifying aura. Then, a gentle force wrapped around them and brought them back to the ground. Following that, Yi Fei saw an incomparably shocking scene. The demonic emperor actually lifted the mountain-like, soul-devouring sword with his bare hands. It floated in the air like a mountain of swords, emitting a sword cry that could destroy the world. Yi Fei only had one thought in his mind. This is the real soul-devouring sword. This is the power that a true emperor should have. Impossible. Isn't he just a remnant soul? How can he control the emperor's sword so easily? The 7 martial kings who had charged at the demonic emperor were so frightened that their legs went soft. What made them vomit blood was that the Chun clan's grandfather and grandson, as well as the blood demon incarnation, were all fleeing as if their lives depended on it. They had no intention of attacking at all. We've been tricked. We've all been tricked. Senior, please spare us. The 7 martial kings were so frightened that their faces turned pale. Under the soul-devouring sword's destructive pressure, even a martial king expert could only tremble in fear. Then, they saw the expressionless demonic emperor slash down with the soul-devouring sword in his hand. Spare my life. No one can live after offending this emperor. Similarly, no one can escape from this emperor's soul-devouring sword. Soul-devouring slash. Boom, boom. The huge mountain of swords swept across the sky. Wherever it passed, the void was destroyed and all living things were exterminated. Even light became distorted and collapsed under the soul-devouring sword's effect. Yi Fei and Shanglua's vision turned dark at the same time. The two of them were horrified to discover that the soul-devouring sword had devoured the land they were standing on. Yi Fei could only see a sword light that could devour all living things passed by them and turn the 7 martial kings into dust. Then, it passed by the martial kings and arrived behind the 3 fleeing martial kings. The demonic emperor was actually planning to kill 10 martial kings with a single slash. How powerful, how domineering. Chapter 387. Blood Realm Flower of the Opposite Shore. Grandfather, save me. I don't want to die. Chunjia, the martial king, was so scared that he started crying. Old Master Chun, who had escaped, didn't even turn his head back. He completely ignored the life and death of his grandson. Blood-robed martial king, since you're just an incarnation, why don't you help me share the anger of the martial king? Old Master Chun was old and ruthless. Sacrificing his grandson was not enough. He even kicked the blood demon incarnation back. He hoped to use the lives of these two people in exchange for a chance to escape. The blood demon incarnation let out a furious roar. However, it was helpless as it was only a first-layer martial emperor realm cultivator. Before it could even react, the blood demon incarnation was kicked toward the peak of the soul-devouring sword by Old Man Chun, becoming a shield for the sword. Yi Fei could only see the blood demon avatar explode like fireworks under the impact of the huge sword peak. Not even a drop of blood was left behind. Chunjie's body was also shattered into pieces within a breath's time, which turned into dust and was devoured by the soul-devouring sword. Despite that, the Demon Emperor did not stop there. He continued to slash at Old Master Chun, who was the last to escape. The black-hearted and ruthless old man was so frightened that endless fear flashed across his face. Senior, I failed to recognize Mount Tai. Please be merciful and spare my life. I'm willing to be your slave. Old Master Chun uttered a roar. While begging for his life, he unleashed his strongest strength, summoning over 10 black tornadoes capable of destroying a mountain range in an attempt to slow down the speed of the soul-devouring sword. Slave? Even a dog under my throne is 10 times stronger than you. Didn't you want to destroy my 10 wills? Fine, I'll fulfill your wish. Bang, 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 bang. The Demon Emperor recalled the grievance of being surrounded by 10 martial emperors. He withdrew the soul-devouring sword and returned it to its normal form. At the same time, the remaining 5 black holes around the demonic emperor had turned into 5 terrifying meteors and smashed towards Old Man Chun. No, Old Master Chun seemed to have understood something. He couldn't help but be scared out of his wits. He hurriedly used all his strength to condense a hurricane shield in front of him. Helplessly, under the impact of the 5 black hole meteors, 5 huge holes were immediately smashed into the hurricane shield. Old Master Chun could only widen his frightened and empty eyes as he watched the black hole meteors smash into his body. On the spot, the old man's body was smashed into smithereens, followed by the 3 falling meteors. Not even a speck of dust could be found. What a pity for their interspatial bags. Yi Fei smacked his lips with a pained expression. Shanghua couldn't help but roll his eyes when he heard this. He was so frightened by the Demon Emperor that his legs turned to jelly. He hurriedly grabbed Yi Fei's arm and felt a little safer. Strange, why hasn't the Demon Emperor's last meteor landed yet? Is he going to burn the bridge after crossing the river and kill us too? Shanghua secretly reminded Yi Fei. To be honest, Yi Fei was also quite nervous. After all, he wasn't familiar with the Demon Emperor here. Fortunately, what Yi Fei was worried about didn't happen. As if sensing something, the Demon Emperor's last black hole meteor didn't smash towards Yi Fei. Instead, he suddenly raised the Devourer's sword in his hand and swung it towards the dark corridor in the distance. Whoosh! The countless chains and the dried corpses of the constellation sect disciples that were tied to the chains suddenly opened their eyes and let out a horrifying shriek. That shriek was soul-stirring, as if it could tear one's soul apart. Yi Fei was slightly better, but Shanghua was in so much pain that he squatted on the ground and screamed. 10,000 corpses suppressing soul? Blood Realm Demon Emperor, you really put in a lot of effort. Unfortunately, these things can't suppress me. I'll let your bloody corpses and the 2 ants outside be destroyed together. Devour the heavens and destroy the earth. The Demon Emperor swung his sword again, and a black thread suddenly appeared on the devouring spirit sword. Then it turned into an infinitely long, spatial crack. The 10,000 blood corpses in the dark corridor, as well as the chains that bound them, were all cut into ashes. Finally, the demon emperor's sword pierced through the pagoda spirit space. The last black hole meteor flew out of the spatial crack and suddenly exploded in the air. And the location of the explosion was where the blood-robed Martial King and Third Master Shang were fighting. Third Master Shang was lucky to be facing the black hole meteor. When he saw it flying out, Third Master Shang subconsciously hid behind. Sensing the danger, the blood-robed Martial King also wanted to dodge. Unfortunately, when his back was facing the black hole meteor, before he could dodge, the exploding black hole space had already blown half of the blood-robed Martial King's body into ashes. The blood-robed Martial King screamed in pain and fear. Even so, he didn't die. However, as half of his blood was lost, his cultivation level rapidly dropped from the 10th level Martial King to the 5th level Martial King. The frightened blood-robed Martial King hurriedly rushed out of this small world with his fastest speed. Third Master Shang was almost scared out of his wits. Fortunately, he was already in a state of madness. Even if he vaguely felt that he was being watched by a supreme expert, the crazy Third Master Shang still chased after the blood-robed Martial King with his fastest speed. Stop, why are you running? If you have the guts, fight with Third Master Shang for another 30,000 rounds. There's actually a fish that escaped the net. The Demon Emperor looked at the lively Third Master Shang, and a trace of killing intent flashed across his face. Senior, don't. Shang Luo could clearly see everything outside through the spatial crack of the pagoda spirit space. She immediately shouted nervously. Realizing that the Demon Emperor had no intention of paying attention to her, Shang Luo grabbed Yi Fei's neck and shouted, "Yi Fei, hurry up and tell your master to stop. Otherwise, I'll take you down with me." Yi Fei felt very depressed. However, he was indebted to Third Master Shang, so Yi Fei wouldn't leave him in the lurch. He quickly suppressed his anger and shouted, "Old man, that's an ally. Can you not accidentally injure him? What did you call this emperor?" The Demon Emperor suddenly turned his head and stared coldly at Yi Fei. Yi Fei had a feeling that a disaster was about to befall him, but he didn't have time to explain. Boom! The Demon Emperor suddenly appeared in front of Yi Fei. A terrifying pressure pressed down on Yi Fei, causing him to lie on the ground, unable to move. However, his buttocks were forced up. Yi Fei already felt the Demon Emperor's spirit-devouring sword ruthlessly smack his buttocks. Your talent is trash, and you have no respect for your elders. This emperor has really embarrassed himself by accepting you as a disciple. The Demon Emperor recalled how he had been scared half to death by Yi Fei's impromptu cultivation. He was instantly enraged and wanted to beat Yi Fei up again. However, it would have been better if the Demon Emperor didn't beat him up. With this, the blood bodhi that Yi Fei had hidden on his body rolled out and immediately glowed with a blood-red light. Instantly, the entire pagoda spirit space was filled with a terrifying blood aura that resembled a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. This blood aura was left behind when the Demon Emperor killed the 10 great martial kings. There were also remnants of the Demon Emperor's crushed corpses. All of this blood aura was crazily absorbed by the blood bodhi to strengthen itself. Chapter 388. Bodhi of all beings, what blood realm's red spider lily? Isn't this the blood demon, sex blood bodhi? Yi Fei was also very surprised. If even the Demon Emperor was surprised by this thing, it seemed that this blood bodhi was not ordinary. No wonder the blood demon sex protector was willing to risk his life to hunt him down. The Demon Emperor did not say anything. He simply waved his hand, and the blood bodhi flew into his palm. Then, he explained to Yi Fei, as expected, this is the seed of the blood realm's red spider lily. Kid, I don't know if you're lucky or unlucky to have encountered something like this. What's wrong, master? Will this thing harm me? Yi Fei quickly stood up and asked the Demon Emperor anxiously. Now you know that this emperor is your master. The Demon Emperor glared at Yi Fei and continued to explain. The blood world's red spider lily is a specialty of the Blood World's Azura clan. It's very rare, and its method of ripening is extremely bloody. It requires the flesh and blood of 1,000 martial venerables to mature. If its need for fresh blood is not satisfied, the red spider lily will forcibly absorb the flesh and blood of the warrior who possesses it. Even though Yi Fei knew that the blood bodhi was strange, he was still shocked. He finally understood why the blood demon sect went around deceiving martial saints. It turned out that they wanted to water this blood realm's red spider lily. What was worse was that he had taken away the blood bodhi before it had ripened. If the demon emperor had not discovered it in time, he might have been killed by this thing for no reason. "Master, what should I do with this thing? I've been carrying it for so long. Will my body be affected?" Yi Fei looked at the demon emperor worriedly. "Don't worry. When you were carrying it, you must have killed many martial saints. It's still full of blood and qi. It won't cause you any backlash," said the demon emperor. Yi Fei heaved a sigh of relief. He knew that the blood bodhi might have absorbed enough blood and qi from the dozen deep-sea demon sharks he had killed in the Sea of Constellations. That was why he hadn't suffered any backlash. Of course, while Yi Fei and the Demon King were talking, the blood bodhi was still emitting a large amount of red light and absorbing the rich blood energy in the pagoda spirit space. The vines that had been destroyed by Yi Fei also began to grow and strengthen after the blood bodhi absorbed enough blood qi. In the end, they formed thick roots that took root in the Devil Emperor's vital spirit. The Devil King did not mind. Instead, he was afraid of hurting the roots, so he carefully put away the spirit-devouring sword. In the end, he even restrained his ruler's aura. Boom! Without the spirit-engulfing sword and the demon emperor's pressure, the blood bodhi began to absorb the surrounding crimson light at an insane rate. The roots grew thicker and thicker, covering the demon king's entire body. They dug deep into the ground, turning the ground red as if it had been dyed red by blood. This is the Azura demonic soil. Yi Fei, your talent is terrible and you can't touch it. Otherwise, your mind will be affected and you will become violent and bloodthirsty. However, your woman is not bad. She has a heaven grade rank, 1 talent, and a strong bloodline. She won't be affected, the Demon King said flatly. However, he did not know that his words had a huge impact on Yi Fei and Shanghua. After hearing the Demon King's words, Yi Fei almost vomited blood. "What do you mean, my woman? I'm not friends with this little girl." However, the Demon King's words still shocked Yi Fei. Shanglua's Dantian is of the heaven grade. No one in the entire northern region has a heaven grade talent, including the arrogant Nan Ruofeng. It was only now that Yi Fei realized how terrifying Shanglua's potential was. After hearing the Demon King's words, Shanglua was so angry that she almost stomped her feet. "How could I, Fairy Luo, be interested in a Earth grade rank 10 trash? What are you looking at? I'm talking about you." Shanglua blushed and glared. When she realized that Yi Fei was looking at her, she immediately bared her teeth at Yi Fei like a little tiger. Yi Fei did not say anything. He lifted his foot and walked into the sky. "I forgot to tell you that the cotton on your body fell off." Shanglua was shocked and looked down instinctively. When she saw it, she almost fainted from anger. She had stuffed it properly, and it was bulging. Where did it fall off? Instantly, Shanglua shot Yi Fei a furious look. Boom! Just as Yi Fei and Shanglua were looking at each other with disdain. After absorbing enough blood, the blood bodhi suddenly released a large amount of blood-red mist. Under this mist, the blood-red soil on the ground continued to spread. Even though the Demon King said that Shanglua would be fine after coming into contact with this demonic soil. However, Shanglua still shrieked in fright when she realized that this thing was growing out of corpses. She subconsciously jumped up and hung onto Yi Fei's body. She tightened her grip around Yi Fei's neck and squeezed her body against Yi Fei's body. It was as if this was the only way she could feel safe. Yi Fei was suddenly choked to the point that he could not breathe. He felt that his neck was about to break. He was depressed. Could this little girl also be a body cultivator? Her strength was simply ridiculous. Boom! The demonic soil below was still spreading. As the demonic soil expanded, the speed at which the blood Bodhi absorbed the blood-red light became faster and faster. 10 great martial kings and 10,000 blood corpses. The blood chi gathered like this was extremely terrifying. It almost covered the entire pagoda spirit space, turning everything around it red. However, the blood Bodhi only took 3 days to finish absorbing such a shocking amount of blood chi. The fully matured blood Bodhi instantly bloomed and bore fruit. Its flowers were extremely beautiful. They were like dazzling blood lotuses. In the middle of the lotuses was a pale golden fruit. It gave off a benevolent, peaceful, and majestic feeling. A loud voice faintly came from the void. It sounded like someone was chanting scriptures. Under this voice, the blood chi and resentment in the pagoda spirit's space dissipated like smoke. In the end, even the demonic soil started to be purified by this voice. In an instant, the demonic soil turned into a pure land. The vines of the blood Bodhi withered and turned into ashes. Only the golden fruit was left. It slowly floated in the air. The demon king grabbed it with his hand and threw it to Yi Fei. "Master, this is—" Yi Fei descended from the sky. He looked at the golden fruit in his hand with a face full of disbelief. This was because he saw the image of a Buddha that was very common in the future. Although this image was very blurry, Yi Fei recognized it at a glance. This is the fruit of the blood realm's Permitha flower, the sentient Bodhi fruit. The sea of bitterness is boundless. Turn back and a shore is at hand. Although I hate those baldies, those people who call themselves Buddha's sons are very powerful. This Bodhi fruit was brought to the blood realm by them from some unknown place. The demon king's face was full of disgust. He did not want to talk about those baldies. Yi Fei did not want to ask. He could only look at the golden Bodhi in his hand and ask, "What is the use of this thing?" Chapter 389. Grade 1 Heaven Class. The Demon King urged Yi Fei anxiously. Even though he knew that the Demon King was doing this to help him improve his talent, Yi Fei's face still darkened. The Demon King was underestimating him. With the undying sword soul, would he still be afraid of not being able to improve the quality of his dantian? However, Yi Fei would not let a ready-made treasure go to waste. Shanlua's eyes were almost popping out of their sockets. The process of the blood Bodhi's formation was very bloody. However, after it bloomed and bore fruit, it possessed a very strong Buddhist nature. It was obvious that it was an incredible treasure. I didn't expect that there would be monks and Buddhas in the world of martial artists. I wonder if this Buddhism was passed down from the future or from the world of martial artists. Looking at the golden Bodhi in his hand, Yi Fei's eyes flashed with curiosity. He then opened his mouth and swallowed the golden Bodhi. Wang, the undying sword soul in his body, trembled excitedly when it sensed the energy of the golden Bodhi. This was the first time Yi Fei had seen the undying sword soul so eager. With a thought, he allowed the undying sword soul to absorb the energy of the golden Bodhi. However, what puzzled Yi Fei was that the undying sword soul did not spit out black energy after absorbing the golden Bodhi. Instead, it spat out purple energy. This was the first time Yi Fei had seen such energy. He was shocked. Purple energy. What can this energy do? Very carefully, Yi Fei activated the Demon King's scripture and tried to refine this new energy. However, he realized that it was very difficult to refine it. In the past, if Yi Fei wanted to use the black energy, he only needed a thought to do so. But this purple energy was extremely difficult for Yi Fei to absorb, even if it was just a trace. He couldn't help showing a pained expression. However, Yi Fei did not give up on absorbing it. This was because he realized that when he absorbed this trace of purple energy, his body was undergoing some mysterious changes that even he did not know about. Following these changes, the quality of Yi Fei's dantian started to improve rapidly. Bang! 10 black halos appeared on Yi Fei's body. This was the grade of Yi Fei's Dantian, Earth Grade 10. However, with the absorption of the purple energy, Yi Fei's black halo was gradually dyed with a faint purple halo, which made the Nephilim Emperor and Shanglua feel very strange. Purple halo? Shouldn't a heaven-tier talent be blue in color? Shanglua subconsciously released his own talent halo. It was incomparably blue in color. Then why was Yi Fei's halo purple when he upgraded his talent? Not only Shanglua, but even the Demon Emperor was dumbfounded. Just what kind of monstrous disciple has this old man taken in? Purple halo? I seem to have heard of such a situation before. But it's been too long. I can't seem to recall it. Despite his doubts, the Demon Emperor could tell that Yi Fei's Dantian's quality had not weakened. Instead, it was showing signs of strengthening. However, due to Yi Fei's limited true yuan, it seemed like it would be very difficult for him to complete this transformation. There was even a possibility of failure. Of course, the Demon Emperor would not allow this to happen. If he couldn't even protect a disciple during his breakthrough, he would be a waste of his title. Fine, I'll lend you a helping hand. The Demon Emperor lifted his eyes and looked around. With a wave of his hand, the huge divine dragon's head that was stuck in the spatial crack was pulled over. Bang! The divine dragon's head split open, and a pearl as bright as the moon suddenly appeared. The Demon Emperor grabbed it and quickly pushed it towards Yi Fei's body. Open your mouth, the Demon Emperor said in a deep voice. Yi Fei subconsciously opened his mouth. He felt a shocking amount of energy enter his body. The purple energy that was originally very difficult to refine suddenly became easy to refine. The 10 black halos floating around his body also turned purple. They were filled with a mysterious and noble feeling. Vaguely, mysterious patterns appeared on Yi Fei's skin. However, due to the intense purple light, the Demon Emperor did not see them. Shanghai Luo was also focused on the cracked divine dragon's head as his eyes lit up. Seeing that Yi Fei had begun to break through to the heaven rank, the Demon Emperor smiled in relief. He felt that it was strange that Yi Fei's halo was purple instead of blue. Senior Demon Emperor, I wonder if Senior is willing to sell this divine dragon's head. My Shang family is willing to pay a high price for it. Shangluo mustered his courage and walked to the Demon Emperor's side to discuss business. The Demon Emperor stared at Shanghai Luo with a strange look in his eyes. Your surname is Shang? I see. You want to use its remnant dragon blood to transform the sacred artifact embryo in your hand into a true sacred artifact? Senior is wise. This junior has the same intention. In order to obtain the sacred artifact, my Shang family is willing to do our best and pay a price that will satisfy Senior. Shangluo was a young miss of the Shang family alliance after all. When it came to business, she was not afraid even in front of the Demon Emperor. The Demon Emperor also looked at Shangluo with some admiration. You're quite bold, little girl. However, you also help a little in saving me, so the price will be waived. I'll treat it as giving face to your Shang family ancestor. As he spoke, the Demon Emperor directly took Shangluo's dragon rebel saber and reached out to grab the snow wind sword beside Yi Fei. The saber and sword both flew into the Demon Emperor's hand. They let out extremely excited cries. Treasures had spirits. Clearly, the Phoenix Blood Sword and the Dragon Rebel Saber sensed what the Demon Emperor wanted to do to them. Shangluo finally felt that she could finally make up for the losses she had suffered at Yi Fei's hands. And so, the Demon Emperor began to refine the embryos of the Phoenix Blood Sword and the Dragon Rebel Saber using the remaining dragon blood and dragon bones of the mystical dragon head. As the Demon Emperor focused on refining, he had no idea that as he was refining the sacred artifact, Yi Fei's Dantian's quality had increased as he absorbed a large amount of purple energy. Not only had his Dantian advanced to the first grade of the heaven grade, but his innate talent had also increased. Dense scales suddenly appeared on the surface of Yi Fei's body. These scales were different from the rippling scales Yi Fei had produced in the sea of constellations. The scales that appeared this time were mighty and domineering. At a closer look, they were actually 90% similar to the scales on the mystical dragon head. The only difference was that Yi Fei's scales were even more mysterious and noble. In the end, the scales all vanished, converging into a streak of light and being completely absorbed by the ancient beast mark on Yi Fei's shoulder. It was as if they had never appeared. Boom! After his innate talent increased, Yi Fei felt that the power in his body was still like a fountain. It was endless. Understanding that this might be because the mystical dragon inner core he had consumed was too powerful, Yi Fei could only circulate the Demon Emperor scripture and continue cultivating. He did his best to use this power to break through a little more in his cultivation. On the other side, the Demon Emperor was also very serious. He was immersed in refining the sacred artifact. At the same time, this was also a process for him to recover his strength. Chapter 390. 10th level martial honored realm cultivation and weapon forging were not something that could be completed in a few days. Furthermore, what Yi Fei had refined was the inner core of a mystical dragon, while what the Devil Emperor had refined was a true saint item. During this period, Shanghua woke up from his cultivation once, but Yi Fei was still cultivating diligently, which made Shanghua very unhappy. This bastard has the support of a martial emperor, yet he's still so hard-working in his cultivation. This won't do. I have to work harder. I don't believe that I can't beat him. Shanghua closed her eyes again and began to cultivate seriously. Strangely enough, Shanghua hated cultivating when he was at home and in the merchant union. He was only able to reach the martial honorable realm so quickly because of his talent. At this moment, Shang Luo suddenly became serious. Powerful talent could greatly increase a martial artist's cultivation, and this was why it was so obvious. When he had first entered the pagoda spirit space, Shanglo was only a level 1 martial honorable. After cultivating for 10 days, Shanglo had stepped into level 2 martial honorable. After cultivating for another 20 days, Shanglo had broken through to the rank 3 martial honorable realm. Such a terrifying speed of improvement was absolutely heaven-defying. Shangluo felt a little proud of herself. She thought that at this rate of cultivation, her realm would soon surpass Yi Fei's. When that time came, she would be able to torture Yi Fei however she wanted. Shangluo seemed to have thought of the pleasure of tormenting Yi Fei, so she stopped cultivating and gave Yi Fei a provocative look. Just this one look was enough to make Shangluo turn pale with fright. She thought that her cultivation speed was already incredible, but in the end, Yi Fei's cultivation speed was simply heaven-defying. When he had first opened his eyes, Yi Fei had only been a rank 7 martial honorable. When he opened his eyes again, Shangluo was shocked to discover that Yi Fei was already a rank 10 martial honorable. 10th level martial honorable. How is that possible? Shangluo covered her mouth in shock. She found it hard to believe that Yi Fei could break through 4 levels in a single month. That was the 4th tier. Even if Yi Fei swallowed the divine dragon's inner core, he couldn't have broken through so quickly. Could it be that Yi Fei didn't even have any bottlenecks to break through? That was indeed the case. Ever since he had refined the purple energy released by the undying sword soul, Yi Fei had discovered that not only had the quality of his Dantian increased, even his martial way barrier had miraculously disappeared. It was just like how when Yi Fei broke through to the martial honorable realm, he would not encounter any bottlenecks. As long as he accumulated enough energy, he would be able to break through without any obstacles. As such, Yi Fei did not waste a single bit of the energy from the divine dragon's inner core. As a result, after a month of hard work, Yi Fei's cultivation realm broke through 4 ranks, and he reached the peak of rank 10 martial honorable realm. With just one more step, Yi Fei would break through to the martial honorable realm and enter the martial king realm. However, Yi Fei did not dare to take this step. Firstly, the energy from the divine dragon's inner core had been depleted. Secondly, Yi Fei only had the first 3 levels of the Demon Emperor scripture. The Demon Emperor had not imparted the last 6 levels to him. Yi Fei could only helplessly stop cultivating and open his eyes. Then he saw that Shangluo had an ugly expression on her face and was sizing him up as if she had a deep grudge against him. He was instantly confused. Did I offend her again? Why is this girl so angry? Yi Fei, you're a pervert humph. Shangluo turned her face away angrily. Of course, she would not admit that she had been mercilessly attacked by Yi Fei's insane speed of improvement. Humph, if I had a martial emperor as my master, I would definitely not lose to him. Shangluo was very unconvinced. She felt inexplicably wronged. Then, two loud sounds attracted the attention of Yi Fei and Shangluo. When Yi Fei turned his head, he saw an incomparably shocking scene. There was actually a dragon and a phoenix fighting each other in the sky. Taking a closer look, it was not a real dragon and phoenix, but the phoenix blood sword and the dragon rebel saber. They were fighting under the control of the demon emperor, but the result was a draw. The phoenix blood sword and the dragon rebel saber had been refined by the demon emperor. They were no longer embryos of divine weapons, but true divine weapons. Sensing that their masters had awakened, the phoenix blood sword and the dragon rebel saber immediately stopped fighting. They turned into a ray of fire and a ray of rainbow light, respectively, and flew into Yi Fei and Shangluo's hands. This is the phoenix blood sword, a divine weapon? Yi Fei looked at the brand new phoenix blood sword in his hand and found that it looked exactly the same as the spirit-devouring sword. The only difference was that the spirit-devouring sword contained the ability to devour. It could devour the soul fragments of the people it killed, while the phoenix blood sword contained the ability to destroy and strengthen. The phoenix blood sword was made of dragon bones. Yi Fei held it in his hand and felt a sense of pride. It was as if he could kill a martial king expert with one strike, even if there was one standing in front of him. Yi Fei, this is a divine weapon that I have refined for you based on the spirit-devouring sword. With it, you can even kill a martial king expert of the 10th level. But remember, a divine weapon is an external object in the end. You can only rely on yourself. The demon emperor walked over and lectured him. After a month of refining, the demon emperor hadn't worked for nothing. He had also used the process of refining a divine weapon to recover his primordial spirit. Now, his every movement had the aura of an emperor. It was very intimidating. Even though he was holding a real divine weapon, Yi Fei could feel that the demon emperor was undefeatable. Senior, can you help me change the shape of the dragon rebel saber? I don't like it. Shangluo looked at the dragon rebel saber in her hand and said shyly and anxiously. Perhaps the demon emperor had misunderstood her or did it on purpose. Only when Shangluo held the dragon rebel saber did she realize that her dragon rebel saber looked like a pair with Yi Fei's phoenix blood sword no matter how she looked at it. She even had the illusion that their minds were connected. With this illusion, Shangluo curiously used the dragon rebel saber to send a thought to the phoenix blood sword in the distance. Yi Fei held the phoenix blood sword and suddenly sensed Shangluo's thought. This made Yi Fei almost vomit blood. He hurriedly asked the demon emperor, "Master, what are you doing? Why do I feel like the phoenix blood sword and the dragon rebel saber are a couple divine weapons?" "What couple divine weapons? They're clearly master and servant divine weapons. My dragon rebel saber is the master and your phoenix blood sword is the servant." Shangluo blushed and hurriedly argued. She purposely emphasized the words master and servant. Yi Fei couldn't be bothered to say anything more to Shangluo. He only looked at the demon emperor, waiting for him to explain. The demon emperor didn't explain. He even waved his hand domineeringly. "Stop arguing, you two. Since I've refined it, it's up to you whether you want to use it or not. I don't have time to change it. I'm going to the demon ceiling tower right now to find my original body. Yi Fei, are you coming with me, or are you going to continue training outside?" The demon emperor looked at Yi Fei very seriously. A martial emperor with only a nascent spirit was extremely dangerous. If he wasn't careful, he could be captured by experts and refined as a weapon spirit. The demon emperor didn't dare to stay outside for long. Hearing that the demon emperor wanted to return to the demon ceiling tower, Yi Fei felt troubled. After all, he still had a year to go with Nan Ruofen. Even though he had the Phoenix Blood Sword and could easily kill Nan Ruofeng, Yi Fei didn't plan on relying on the Phoenix Blood Sword's power. Chapter 391. A lingering spirit, that's fine too. After all, it will take some time for me to recover my cultivation. You can train outside for the time being. If you encounter any danger that you can't handle, remember to chant my name in your heart. The Demon Emperor did not force Yi Fei. Instead, he left a mark on Yi Fei's arm and tore open the space of the tower spirit. Yi Fei and the little girl over there, hurry up and leave. I'm going to subdue the tower spirit of this demon ceiling pagoda. Rumble. As if sensing the Demon Emperor's intention, the entire space of the tower spirit began to tremble violently, as if it was going to rise from the ground and escape from this small world. Yi Fei and Shanglua felt a strong force blowing them out of the space of the tower spirit. Following this, the entire space of the tower spirit was swallowed by the black hole in the Demon Emperor's hand. I'll be leaving. In the end, after subduing the tower spirit, the Demon Emperor stepped into the black hole and disappeared before their eyes. Yi Fei couldn't help but smile wryly. The methods of a martial emperor are indeed powerful. Now that I've broken through to the 10th layer Martial Highness realm, I can use the remaining time to break through to the Martial Emperor realm. There was still half a year left before the 1-year deadline. Back when Nan Ruofeng had forced him to leave the Taishan sacred land, Yi Fei had said some harsh words. However, deep down, he wasn't confident that he could break through to the Martial Emperor realm within a year. However, after the trip to the Sea of Constellations, even if Yi Fei didn't break through to the Martial Emperor realm, he had still gained more than that. He had obtained a true sacred weapon and a first-grade Tian-ranked talent. This gave Yi Fei the confidence to face Nan Ruofeng. Nan Ruofeng, just you wait. I'll definitely break through to the Martial Emperor realm within half a year. Then, I'll return to the Taishan sacred land and fight you. Yi Fei hadn't forgotten how he had been forced to leave the Taishan sacred land. He also hadn't forgotten that it was Nan Ruofeng who had left Zhao Yu in the lurch and sacrificed him to the heavenly insect. Yi Fei wouldn't let this person go just based on these 2 points alone. Retracting his gaze from the sky, Yi Fei walked out of the small world with confidence and vigor. Generally speaking, Yi Fei was in a very good mood at this moment. The Nephilim Emperor had been freed, and his strength had improved tremendously. The only thing that made Yi Fei unhappy was that there was a piece of sticky candy following behind him, which gave him a headache. After walking for a while, he saw that Shanglua was still following Yi Fei like a little tail. Yi Fei couldn't help but turn around and ask, "Little girl, why are you following me? Don't tell me you really like me? Bah, why don't you take a look at yourself? You're as ugly as a pig's head. How could I possibly like you? Haven't you heard that a good dog doesn't block the way? Hurry up and get out of my way." Shanglua blushed. She didn't want to admit it. She was afraid that it wouldn't be safe for her to carry the divine implement alone, so she deliberately walked with Yi Fei. Yi Fei didn't say much and stepped aside to let Shanglua pass. Yi Fei didn't move and just watched as Shanglua continued to walk forward. "Bastard, damn it, don't you have any tender feelings for the fair sex?" Shanglua walked a few steps, but when she saw that Yi Fei didn't follow her, she panicked a little and hurriedly stepped back. Yi Fei was speechless. "Didn't you say that a good dog doesn't block the way? What do you mean by stepping back? If I want to go, I'll go. If I want to stop, I'll stop. It's none of your business." Shanglua knew that Yi Fei was teasing her and couldn't help but blush. However, Miss Shang wasn't someone to be trifled with. Rolling her eyes, Shanglua found a very good reason for her actions. "Yi Fei, do you remember what you promised me? You said that you would help me get the face-retaining pill and cure my third uncle's insanity after saving the Demon Emperor. Did you mention it again when the Demon Emperor was here?" Faced with Shanglua's interrogation, Yi Fei immediately broke out in a sweat. Only now did he realize that because he was too engrossed in his cultivation, he actually forgot to mention these 2 things to the Demon Emperor. Suddenly, Yi Fei didn't have a reason to chase Shanglua away. He could only helplessly explain, "Fine, I'm afraid of you. When I see the Demon Emperor later, I'll definitely help you ask him about these two things." "When will that be? Is it a month or a year? Do you think I'm easy to fool? Let me tell you, if you don't complete these two things in a day, I'll pester you every day and annoy you to death." Shanglua's face was full of joy, as if she had won a great battle. Yi Fei was very depressed. It seemed that he couldn't get rid of this sticky candy beside him for a while. He could only hope that Third Master Shang would quickly appear and take this little girl away. In the end, he didn't know whether Yi Fei was unlucky or the Blood Demon Sect Protector was too cunning. After walking for a long time, Yi Fei still didn't see Third Master Shang. "What's going on? Why hasn't Third Uncle come to find me yet?" Shanglua was starting to worry. "Don't worry, Third Master is so strong. That blood-robed martial king was seriously injured by the Demon Emperor. He's not Third Master's match at all," Yi Fei said. "I'm not worried about Third Uncle. I'm worried that we two juniors have sacred artifacts in our hands. If we're targeted by bad people and you can't beat them, I'll be implicated by you." Shanglua's face was full of worry. Yi Fei couldn't help but vomit blood. However, Yi Fei felt that Shanglua's words made a certain amount of sense. A sacred artifact embryo was enough to allow the heavenly insect to lurk in the Zhao Kingdom for more than 200 years and cause the Zhao Kingdom to collapse. Not to mention, he and Shanglua were now holding a real sacred artifact in their hands. An ordinary man's wealth is his own ruin. It seems that even if I have the sacred artifact, I'll try not to use it unless I have to. Otherwise, I'll attract the attention of others and bring about an unexpected disaster. Yi Fei secretly made up his mind. He didn't reject the idea of walking together with Shanglua. They could take care of each other as well. After walking like this for about 3 days, the two of them finally reached the end of the pocket world. Don't ask why Yi Fei didn't fly. It was because after the Demon Emperor took away the pagoda spirit space, the entire pocket world began to be affected by the special environment of the Sea of Constellations. It became impossible to fly. Unless it was a martial saint or a demon emperor, it would be a different story. At the same time, the changes in the pocket world greatly shocked the cultivators who were still training on the Constellation Islands. At the entrance of the pocket world, more than 10 martial saints from the Merchant Union were anxiously waiting there. They only breathed a sigh of relief when they saw Shanglua walk out safely. "Eldest Miss, you've finally come out." You're Yi Fei. How dare you appear in front of the Eldest Miss?" The experts from the Merchant Union were pleasantly surprised when they saw Shanglua, but when they saw Yi Fei, they scowled coldly. Yi Fei couldn't help but roll his eyes. After all, he was a 10th-stage martial saint. He couldn't be bothered to lower himself to these people's level. "Where's my third uncle? Is he still not here yet?" Shanglua couldn't help but worry when she saw that only the guards were waiting here. Third Master Shang wasn't around. "Third Master hasn't come out yet?" Yi Fei was also surprised. Could it be that he's delayed because he can't fly in the pocket world? Then what should we do? "Yi Fei, why don't we wait for Third Uncle before going out?" Shanglua said. She didn't know how shocked the experts of the Merchant Union were by her attitude. Did the sun rise from the west? The eldest miss, who had always treated young talents like dogs, was actually asking for another man's opinion? Immediately, the experts from the Merchant Union looked at Yi Fei in a different light. Their gazes were filled with respect. One of them suddenly thought of something and reported, "Eldest Miss, there's one more thing. The 10th Prince and Feng you asked us to watch over were taken away by the Heavenly Insect. We were incompetent. Please punish us, Eldest Miss." Chapter 392. Unable to hold back his anger, Yi Fei did not have a deep relationship with the 10th Prince and Feng, but the two of them still treated him as a friend. They had even taken the risk of luring Shanglua away so that Yi Fei could enter the small world. Just because of this, Yi Fei could not let anything happen to the two of them. The 10th Prince and Feng were captured by the Heavenly Yin Church. In the end, they were implicated by him. Yi Fei felt a strong anger in his heart. He coldly asked the guard, "Where did the Heavenly Een Church take the 10th Prince and Sure Foam?" "They're at the pier outside. Many people saw them. I heard that the experts of the Heavenly Een sect said that they wanted to use the two of them to force you to show yourself." The guard trembled as he spoke. The other experts of the Merchant Alliance were not any better. Yifei's aura was too terrifying. The anger of a 10th level martial honorable was enough to make them, who were only 1st and 2nd level martial honorables, feel fear. Yifei nodded his head at them to express his gratitude. Then, his body moved, and he rushed toward the pier as fast as he could. "Heavenly Een sect, even if you don't force me, I will still show myself." Yifei's lips curled into a cold smile. Seeing Yifei leave, Shanghua angrily chased after him. She had personally captured the 10th Prince and Sure Foam. Now that they had been taken away by the Heavenly Een sect, it was clearly a provocation to the Merchant Alliance. Only after Yifei left did the experts of the Merchant Alliance breathe smoothly. They looked at Yifei's back in shock. "Did you feel it?" Yifei's aura is even more terrifying than the 10th level martial honorables we have seen. That's right. When he is angry, I feel as though the sky is falling. Yifei is too heaven-defying. He has broken through to the 10th level martial honorable in such a short time. The experts of the Merchant Alliance sighed. They had all heard that when Yifei had been chased out of the Sacred Lands half a year ago, he had only been a half-step martial honorable. In the end, after half a year, Yifei had reached rank 10 martial honorable realm. The speed at which his cultivation had increased made them tremble in fear. After the initial shock, these experts began to rejoice in the misfortune of others. Haha, the Taishan Holy Land actually expelled such a genius. It seems that the Holy Land is really on the decline. Let's follow them and protect the young mistress. I reckon that the Heavenly Een cult is going to be in trouble this time. With the intention of watching a good show, these experts of the Merchant Alliance did not need Yifei to take a detour. They had already volunteered to rush to the front and lead the way for Yifei. At the dock of Constellation Island, 2 tall flagpoles were erected in the most conspicuous positions. The 10th Prince and Sure Foam were tied up and hung high on the flagpoles. Even if they did not suffer any physical pain, they would definitely lose face if they were hung up like this. Sure Fang's face had already turned black from anger. The 10th Prince was still unperturbed. He kept chatting with Sure Foam and said, "Junior brother Sure, with our friendship with Yifei, if we ask to buy Luo Xianzi's undergarments, will he sell them to us at a cheaper price?" Sure Fang's face turned even darker when he heard this. He did not like the 10th Prince's attitude. "Bastards, behave yourselves. 10th Prince, Sure Foam, you two better pray that Yifei will come out to save you. Otherwise, we will take your lives." A dozen true disciples of the Heavenly Een cult surrounded the flagpoles. They did not allow anyone to come close. They were all true disciples of the Heavenly Een cult, and all of them were martial honorables. They had all heard about the abnormalities in the Constellation Sea and came to search for treasures. In the end, they did not find any treasures. Instead, they heard that Zhanbo and the others had been killed by Yifei like chickens. The Heavenly Een cult's disciples were all shocked. It was nothing if a normal true disciple died, but Zhanbo was different. He was the disciple of one of the golden bone emissaries of the Heavenly Een cult. After hearing the news of Zhanbo's death, these disciples did not dare to be negligent. They hurriedly searched everywhere for Yifei. In the end, they did not dare to enter the Constellation sect's small world. However, at the entrance, they unexpectedly found the 10th Prince and Sure Foam being held captive by the experts of the Merchant Union. These people immediately had an idea. They forcefully snatched the 10th Prince and Sure Foam and tied them to the flagpoles to show everyone how powerful the Heavenly Een cult was. At the same time, they quickly sent the news of Zhanbo's death to the Golden Bone emissary, who was also Zhanbo's master, who happened to be in the Chaotic Star City. At this moment, the Golden Bone emissary, a 10th-stage martial honorable, was standing to the side with a gloomy expression. He was waiting for Yifei to not appear. He was waiting for Yifei to not appear. When he thought about how the experts of the Heavenly Ean cult had been killed by Yi Fei one after another, the Golden Bone emissary was finally enraged. I'm not waiting anymore. I've waited for almost a month, and Yi Fei still hasn't appeared. If he's not hiding in fear, then he's already given up on these too. The old man's expression was gloomy as he stared at the 10th prince and Feng with an ominous glint in his eyes. The 10th prince and Feng had a bad premonition. They knew that it was useless to beg for mercy. The two of them cursed together. Old bastard, you finally can't stand it anymore and want to torture us. As long as I frown, I'll be a grandson like you. The two's curses caused the expressions of the Heavenly Ean cult's disciples to change. Then they all flew into a rage. Shut up. How dare you two insult the honorable Lord Emissary? Today, I'll let you taste pain. Ha! A Heavenly Ean cult's disciple picked up a long whip in front of everyone and lashed out heavily. The 10th prince's skin split open, but the 10th prince still laughed loudly. Grandson, haven't you eaten yet? How can you have such little strength? Damn it, they still dare to be stubborn. Beat them to death. Pa! 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 After waiting for a long time, Yi Fei still hadn't appeared. The Heavenly Ean cult's disciples had been suppressing their anger for a long time, so they took this opportunity to vent it all. The dozen or so leather whips were like gusts of wind, causing the air to howl. The 10th prince and Feng could still continue to curse at first, but as the whips became heavier and heavier, their true essence was sealed, so they still felt intense pain. Their bodies couldn't help but start a spasm. Even so, the 10th prince and Feng were still laughing. They weren't willing to show any weakness in front of the enemy. Bah, if you have the guts, then kill us. Sooner or later, the Taishan Holy Land will destroy your Heavenly Ean cult. Feng spat out a mouthful of blood, which coincidentally landed on the face of a Heavenly Ean cult's disciple. That disciple's face was filled with rage. The whip in his hand suddenly turned into a spear and ruthlessly stabbed at Feng's body. He sneered, "You're courting death. I don't believe that my torture won't hurt you. Bastard, if you have the guts, then come at me." The 10th prince was anxious. He clearly knew that the Heavenly Ean cult's disciples wanted to kill Feng. If Feng was hit by this whip, he would definitely be seriously injured. Haha, don't worry. It will definitely be your turn later. Of course, if you're afraid of death, then loudly beg for mercy now. Tell everyone that you know your mistake and quickly ask for the Lord Emissary's forgiveness. These disciples of the Heavenly Ean cult had deliberately slowed down their speed in order to create the greatest fear for the 10th prince and Feng. The Golden Bone emissary of the Heavenly Ean cult had watched all of this indifferently as they attacked. He didn't care about the lives of these two people at all. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.